Welcome to Sleep from History, where tonight we drift back not just centuries, but millions of years into the dawn of life as we know it. Imagine a lush, humid earth, where forests spread endlessly under a warm sun, and the ancestors of humankind swung gracefully through branches. From these quiet canopies, evolution whispered change, bodies grew stronger, minds sharper, and a spark of curiosity began to flicker in the eyes of creatures who would one day shape the world. Here's the reality check. You probably wouldn't last a week. Life was brutal and raw. Predators lurked in the undergrowth. Food was hard won, and survival meant courage, cunning, and an instinct to adapt. From humble beginnings, humanity learned to tame fire, carve tools, and cross oceans, eventually building cities that echoed with ambition and conflict. Before we step into this saga of survival and ingenuity, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy these sleepy journeys into history. Drop your location and local time. In the comments, we're building a gentle map of listeners across the world. Now, let's drift together into the story of Homo sapiens, ancient, resilient, and endlessly curious. Close your eyes and imagine a world so ancient that it feels like a dream. 25 million years ago, the earth was warmer than today, wrapped in a humid embrace. Great rivers wound their way through dense jungles, and the air was thick with the hum of insects and the distant cries of strange, long-forgotten creatures. The continents were not yet settled into their familiar shapes. Africa drifted northward, pushing slowly toward Europe, while Asia and the Near East were a tapestry of lush forests and shallow seas. The mighty Tethys Ocean, a vast inland sea, was shrinking, fragmenting into smaller basins and coastal wetlands. It was a time of transformation, and in these green, steaming forests, the story of humanity began. Up in the canopy, life was vibrant but perilous. Ancient primates leapt from branch to branch, their bodies perfectly adapted for climbing and swinging. Some were tiny, no larger than a modern house cat, while others, like the mighty Gigantopithecus, were towering giants. The forest floor was dangerous territory, prowled by saber-toothed predators and colossal herbivores. Safety lay high above, where sunlight filtered through leaves and vines created a natural highway for creatures agile enough to navigate it. In this world, every day was a delicate balance of risk and reward. Food was abundant, but never guaranteed. Tropical fruit trees were seasonal, and competition was fierce. Early primates developed sharp instincts and nimble hands to reach ripened treasures before rivals. The forest was alive with scent and sound, the musk of wet soil, the sweet perfume of blossoms, and the rustle of unseen predators. Life was fleeting, and survival demanded constant vigilance. But it was here, in this seemingly eternal paradise, that something remarkable began to stir. Small evolutionary shifts, minor changes in muscle structure, bone density, and brain development were quietly setting the stage for the emergence of beings unlike anything the planet had seen before. These primates were no mere passengers in nature's grand story. They were about to become its most daring authors. Night fell quickly in this ancient forest, wrapping the world in a blanket of darkness. The cries of diurnal birds gave way to the haunting calls of nocturnal creatures. Above, the stars were brighter than we can imagine today, unspoiled by artificial light, a shimmering ocean of silver over the black silhouette of treetops. In these quiet hours, The early primates huddled together in family groups, their young nestled safely in their mother's arms, lulled to sleep by the hum of the forest. Though they did not know it, their descendants would one day look back from towering cities, tracing their lineage to these small, cautious creatures who had only instinct, courage, and curiosity to guide them. So begins our journey, a slow, winding road through millions of years, starting not with kings or empires, but with fragile lives in the treetops. The earth was a cradle, and in its green arms, humanity's earliest ancestors took their first breath. Picture the dawn breaking over a prehistoric world. The sun rises as a hazy golden disk, its light streaming through thick canopies of leaves. Shafts of sunlight cut through the mist, illuminating clusters of figs and bright tropical flowers. In these high shadowy corridors of green, ancient primates ruled their kingdoms. Some were agile climbers, no heavier than a loaf of bread, while others were giants so large their very weight made the branches tremble beneath them. Among these towering monarchs of the forest was Gigantopithecus, a creature that could stand over 3 meters tall and weigh more than 500 pounds. Its massive jaw crushed bamboo and fruit with ease, and yet for all its strength, it was a gentle giant, a vegetarian colossus, moving slowly through the undergrowth. If you could see one now, you might think of a myth brought to life, a beast like a legend from some forgotten folktale. But this giant was real, its bones and teeth still telling its story millions of years later. Then there was Sevapithecus, smaller but no less important, with its forward-facing eyes and a face that looked strikingly like that of a modern orangutan. It was a bridge between epochs, a messenger from deep time, hinting at what was to come. These creatures were masters of their realm, a mosaic of tropical forests, stretching from what is now Europe all the way to the warm valleys of South Asia. They thrived in a planet that was warmer, wetter, and wilder than we can imagine. The forest was alive with more than just giants. Ramapithecus, with its compact frame, scurried through the treetops, its nimble fingers plucking fruit and cracking nuts. Fossil evidence tells us this species had jaws suited for chewing tough vegetation, suggesting a diet as varied as its terrain. These creatures weren't merely surviving, they were experimenting, adapting to every nuance of their environment, laying the groundwork for the evolutionary masterpiece yet to come. But the world was restless. The Earth's plates shifted silently beneath their feet, reshaping continents. Vast inland seas began to dry, giving way to open woodlands and grasslands. For creatures who had ruled the treetops, this was a challenge unlike any other. Branches that once offered protection and abundance grew sparse. Danger lurked on the ground. Saber-toothed cats prowled silently, while enormous rhinos and mammoths trampled the earth. For primates, safety was no longer guaranteed above. Survival required courage, intelligence, and innovation. Night brought no respite. The forest transformed into a dark, whispering cathedral of sound. Insects droned softly, while owls and night hunters moved like shadows between branches. The giants of this world, heavy and deliberate, found quiet places to rest their massive bodies, blending into the gloom. Smaller primates clung to their families, their soft eyes wide with the ancient fear of predators. Under a starlit sky, unspoiled by time, the seeds of what we would one day call humanity were stirring in their minds, not yet aware of their destiny. These lords of the canopy are now ghosts preserved only in fossils and in our imagination. Yet their legacy remains etched into our very bones. Every human hand carries the echoes of their grasping fingers. Every step we take owes something to their daring climbs. The forest was their kingdom, and it was in this lush green empire that evolution sharpened instincts, strengthened bodies, and set the first stones in the winding path that would lead to us. And as we leave these giants behind, we trace the line forward, a line that will soon meet a remarkable creature, one whose agility and curiosity would change the course of history forever. Time drifts forward 10 million years, and the forests of Europe are a boundless sea of green. Around 13 million years ago, in what is now Spain, a small yet remarkable creature swings silently through the misty canopy. This is Australopithecus, a name that sounds ancient and strange. Yet this little ape carries within it the spark of our distant future. Picture it a creature no heavier than 40 kilograms, with bright, curious eyes and long, dexterous fingers. It is not the strongest animal in this forest, nor the largest, but it possesses something extraordinary, a body evolving toward a new kind of movement. Unlike its earlier ancestors, Australopithecus can straighten its back, even stand upright for brief moments. A subtle but monumental shift that will shape the destiny of countless generations to come. This ability to walk on two legs did not appear on open savannas, as we often imagine. Instead, it was born in the treetops, where balance was everything. Reaching for fruit, navigating wide branches, and moving carefully from tree to tree required new muscles, stronger bones, and haunts built for both climbing and gripping. Shorter, sturdier fingers, paired with long arms, gave this ape the grace of an acrobat. It was not yet human, but it was no ordinary ape either. The forest around it was a world of danger and wonder. Saber-toothed predators prowled below giant snakes, coiled silently above, and a single slip from a branch could mean instant death. Survival demanded more than speed or strength. It required awareness, caution, and a spark of intelligence. And this small ape, with its bright eyes scanning every movement in the canopy, carried that spark. One young male, now grown and restless, leaves the safety of his birth group. It is instinct. Males must depart once they reach maturity. He moves cautiously through dense foliage, his heart quickening at every bird's warning call. Ahead, a new group rests in the branches. He studies them from a distance. Acceptance will not come easily. Females guard their infants fiercely, and the alpha male never welcomes strangers without a fight. But survival is as much about diplomacy as strength. The young male lowers his body, emits soft, submissive calls, and makes himself small. An older female, her fur streaked with gray, watches him carefully. She does not chase him away. In this moment, he has found a fragile opening, for in ape society, wisdom often lies with the elder females, the quiet leaders of the group. Through patience and gestures, the young male inches closer, learning that social bonds are as vital as strong limbs. Night falls quickly. The jungle transforms into a cathedral of shadow and sound, where insects hum like distant music and leaves whisper secrets to the wind. The young male curls up in a nest of woven branches, an invention that would change primate life forever. No longer do these apes sleep, perched nervously, waking at every sound. Their carefully built nests offer safety and the luxury of deep, restorative rest. a gift that would nurture their growing brains and dreams over millions of years. Above him, the stars burn brighter than we could ever see today, unspoiled by city lights. They glimmer like ancient lanterns, silently watching over this creature who does not yet know its place in history. Australopithecus cannot imagine what lies ahead: cities, art, fire, and writing. Yet this small, cautious ape is already walking the first steps of a path that will lead one day to us. As dawn breaks over the Miocene forests, the jungle stirs with soft rustling and calls echoing through the canopy. Among the dense branches, Australopithecus lives, not as a solitary wanderer, but as part of a tightly knit society. Life in these ancient treetops is shaped not only by instinct, but also by bonds of loyalty, kinship, and an early form of politics. Imagine a family group, females gathered close each, with an infant clinging to her fur, their faces framed by soft morning light. They are the pillars of this society, the ones who stay with the group for life. Around them, a few dominant males perch watchfully guarding their precious territory. This is a social structure, written not in words, but in gestures, glances, and subtle movements. A tilt of the head, a soft vocalization, the flick of an ear. All of these are part of a language that predates human speech. Territory is life. Each clan of apes occupies a defined region of forest, rich in fruiting trees and hidden pathways. Trespassing is rarely forgiven. Males often roam at the edges of their domain, their posture tall and imposing, ready to defend their family without a flash of teeth or a show of strength. Yet these displays are often ritualized. Violence is dangerous, and most disputes are resolved through intimidation, not injury. Even here in this primal world, negotiation exists. Within the safety of their home range, the apes live by rhythms that echo the natural cycles of the forest. At dawn, they descend through the canopy to forage, scanning branches for ripe figs or sweet pods. Their hands are marvels of design, powerful enough to grip thick branches, delicate enough to pluck the softest fruit without bruising it. A day's journey through the trees is a dance of balance and agility as they leap from limb to limb, never forgetting the dangers below. Young males, like the one we followed earlier, face a daunting reality. When they come of age, they must leave the only home they have ever known. Their departure is quiet, often lonely, driven by instinct, but tinged with something almost like melancholy. They carry the knowledge of their mother's teachings, the skills of their childhood, and the courage to step into unknown territory. It is a story that will repeat itself for millions of years, long after we humans have replaced forests with cities. The need to leave, to wander, to claim a life of one's own. The females, however, are the glue of this society. They remain in their birthplace, forming lifelong bonds with their sisters, daughters, and aging mothers. They are protectors, teachers, and mediators. When tension rises between males, it is often a wise elder female who diffuses the conflict with a calm gesture or a quiet stare. This matriarchal stability is part of what allowed these early apes to thrive in such a dangerous, ever-changing world. Evenings in the forest bring a sense of ceremony. As the sky dims, each ape begins constructing a nest high above the ground. This nightly ritual is an act of survival and comfort woven into their instincts. They bend supple branches into a sturdy frame, layering soft leaves for padding. By sunset, The canopy is dotted with dozens of leafy hammocks, swaying gently in the breeze. Here, under a ceiling of stars, the group settles in close, their bodies curled, their breathing steady. In these quiet moments, one can sense something profound. These creatures are not merely surviving, they are building the foundation for future generations of intelligence and culture. Their relationships, their rituals, and their trust in one another are the earliest whispers of civilization. Even in this distant epoch, the story of humanity is already being written, not with ink, but with instincts passed from mother to child, from clan to clan. The forest falls silent as the last rays of light fade and the stars emerge once more. The apes rest in their nests, surrounded by family, lulled by the chorus of crickets and frogs. They do not know it, but their lives, their territories, their loyalties, their silent diplomacy are shaping the blueprint of what it means to be human. Night falls swiftly in the Miocene world. One moment, the treetops are bathed in gold. The next, they are wrapped in indigo shadows. The forest floor becomes a labyrinth of dangers, where silent predators slink between towering trunks, and the air is thick with the hum of insects. For millions of years, primates lived in this twilight world, with restless eyes dozing lightly, never fully surrendering to sleep. Yet here, among the branches, Australopithecus unlocked a quiet revolution, the invention of the sleeping nest. Picture a small family, high in the canopy. With patient hands, they bend supple branches inward, weaving a platform strong enough to hold their weight. They line it with soft leaves and moss, creating a cradle suspended in the night sky. It is not a fortress, but it is safe enough to let their bodies relax, their minds drift. For the first time, deep sleep becomes possible, no longer clinging desperately to a swaying branch. They can rest with their limbs free, their breathing slow and steady. This simple act, repeated night after night, will change everything. Deep sleep feeds the brain. Over countless generations, this nightly ritual allows memory and imagination to flourish quietly, sculpting the intelligence of future humans. Dreams bloom in the safety of leafy nests, carrying whispers of instincts and fears. In this prehistoric lullaby, evolution begins weaving the threads of creativity and foresight. What began as a survival trick will one day shape art storytelling and the human spirit. From above the forest is a dark, endless ocean, broken only by the shimmer of stars. The nests dotting the canopy glow faintly under moonlight, each one a small sanctuary against the chaos below. The apes sleep curled together, young pressed close to their mothers, elders resting their weary bones. The sounds of the jungle become a symphony. Cicadas drone like distant bells. Frogs sing in the still air, and far off the mournful cry of a hunting cat reminds them that peace is fragile. The nest is more than shelter. It is an idea. It shows that survival is not only about strength, but ingenuity. This instinctive act of bending branches and shaping a resting place foreshadows humanity's future. From here will come huts, homes, and eventually towering cities. But tonight, there are only woven branches and the soft hum of night creatures, a gentle cradle for a species that doesn't yet know its destiny. Morning comes softly, with the smell of dew and the cool brush of mist on fur. The apes stir, stretching their limbs before carefully dismantling their nests. No trace remains of their nighttime refuge, just as footprints vanish in the undergrowth. They move silently into the day, carrying with them the comfort of that rest, an evolutionary gift passed down to us. Even now, as we lay our heads on pillows and drift into dreams, we are repeating an ancient ritual begun by these quiet architects of the treetops. In the story of life, the sleeping nest is a small detail easily overlooked. Yet, in its woven design lies the beginning of something deeply human, the ability to imagine safety where none exists, to create comfort in a wild and unpredictable world. The first spark of civilization was not fire or tools or language. It was this, a place to close one's eyes and dream without fear. And so, in the hush of this prehistoric forest, evolution took one of its most profound steps. Suspended in a cradle of leaves, beneath stars that seemed close enough to touch our ancestors, began their long journey toward thought, memory, and hope. The night became more than darkness. It became a sanctuary. The world is changing. Millions of years have passed since Australopithecus swung through the ancient forests. Now, the landscape is shifting. Forests retreat in places, giving way to open woodland and grassy plains. The creatures that inhabit this new world must be clever as well as strong. It is here among rustling savannas and scattered trees that our ancestors begin to take their first deliberate steps toward shaping the world with their minds. Imagine a young primate crouched beside a fallen log, watching termites stream in perfect formation along a dirt tunnel. Hunger gnaws at his belly, but instead of digging wildly with his hands, he pauses curious. He snaps a twig from a nearby shrub and strips away the leaves, creating a slender probe. With cautious precision, he inserts the stick into the mound, waits a moment, and pulls it out, covered in squirming termites. He eats quickly, pleased with this new trick. This small act may seem insignificant, but it marks a monumental leap. For the first time, an ancestor is not simply reacting to nature. He is manipulating it, inventing a tool to solve a problem. This moment echoes through time, a spark that will grow into the fires of innovation that light our modern age. These first tools were simple, fragile things: sticks, stones, leaves twisted into makeshift scoops, but they carried something profound foresight. To craft a stick for termite fishing, or to use a pebble to crack open nuts, meant imagining the future. It meant understanding that actions now could lead to reward later. Evolution had begun sculpting not just bodies, but minds capable of planning creativity and even curiosity. Tool use spread slowly among these ancient groups, passed from mother to child, elder to youth. A mother would demonstrate how to dig for roots or strip bark to find hidden insects, her little one mimicking her every movement. These lessons were patient and repetitive, shaping the culture of early primates long before written words existed. For a child born in this world, survival depended not just on instinct, but on learning the first whispers of education. Evenings on the savannah brought moments of calm reflection. As the sky turned violet and stars pierced the dusk, families huddled close, grooming one another's fur and sharing food gathered during the day. In these moments of safety, knowledge flowed quietly, shaping the future. The youngest members of the group watched their elders closely, memorizing every movement, every gesture. The rhythm of teaching and learning was slow and tender, woven into the heartbeat of life. Predators still lurked in the shadows. Saber-toothed cats and hyenas roamed the tall grass, and the distant roar of lions kept them alert. Yet these ancestors had something extraordinary, now a growing ability to anticipate danger, to read the environment, to imagine outcomes. A rustle in the grass was no longer just a sound. It was a question, a possibility, a story unfolding in their minds. This rising intelligence was like a quiet drumbeat in the background of evolution, steady and unstoppable. What began with a simple stick dipped into a termite mound would lead to shaped stones, sharpened edges, and eventually fire. It would lead to art and language, myth and memory. But tonight, it is enough that this small creature, crouched in the fading light, has made the leap from instinct to invention. As the group settles for the night, their nests swaying in the breeze, they carry with them this quiet revolution. They do not know that their cleverness will one day build cities, write poetry, and gaze at the stars with wonder. For now, all they know is survival, and yet that survival is already shaped by creativity. The night hums softly around them, cradling the first dreamers of our lineage. Their hands holding more than food, they hold the future. The sun rises over a changing world. Forests are thinning in places, and vast stretches of open grasslands sway gently in the wind. In this new landscape, life demands more than quick reflexes or sharp claws. Survival now depends on intelligence, memory, and learning. For our ancestors, this shift comes with an extraordinary adaptation. Childhood itself begins to lengthen. In earlier epochs, animal young were born, grew rapidly, and faced the dangers of life within months. But in these ancient hominins, childhood stretches out like a slow dawn. A baby clings to its mother's chest, its large eyes wide, absorbing every detail. It cannot walk, cannot feed itself, cannot defend itself. And yet this helplessness is a gift. The brain is growing larger, more complex, and it needs time to learn. Evolution has chosen patience over haste, and in doing so has planted the seeds of something remarkable. Picture a small family group gathered beneath the sparse shade of an acacia tree. An elder female cracks a nut with a carefully chosen stone, showing her granddaughter the precise way to strike. The child mimics her fumbling, then trying again. Hours pass. There is no hurry. Each movement, each failure is a lesson. This scene will repeat endlessly, generation after generation, until the knowledge becomes tradition. In this slow rhythm of learning, bonds deepen. Mothers, aunts, and older siblings form a protective circle around the young, not just guarding their safety, but guiding their minds. The young ones are always watching, absorbing patterns in the way adults forage, respond to danger, or prepare tools. Their brains are like soft clay shaped day by every gesture and sound. This is the dawn of culture. Long before words or symbols, a wisdom passed through mimicry and patience. Evenings on the savannah are alive with quiet ritual. As the group builds their nests or gathers in rocky outcrops for shelter, the youngest cling to their mothers, while older children practice skills climbing, digging, even the use of simple sticks or stones. The adults allow them space to explore, but keep a watchful eye. This freedom to play is not frivolous. It is an evolutionary strategy, a rehearsal for survival in a world where intelligence is now as crucial as strength. And so, childhood becomes a sacred time, a breathing space in the relentless march of evolution. The lengthened dependency period allows more learning, More observation, more subtlety. Social bonds become stronger. Trust and cooperation deepen. Life is no longer only about instinct, but about shared knowledge and memory. The group itself becomes a living library of experience, and the children, its eager readers. At night, when the wind cools and stars scatter like diamonds across the sky, the group sleeps in a protective cluster. Mothers curl their bodies around their young, breathing warmth into their tiny forms. Somewhere in the safety of this circle, dreams flicker in the minds of children. They do not yet know fire, or language, or story, but already their brains hum with patterns, connecting shapes and sounds, building the scaffolding for a future where they will imagine, create, and wonder. This long childhood is a quiet revolution. It allows for curiosity, experimentation, and connection. It is the foundation upon which all human culture will stand. Without it, there would be no art, no music, no science, only survival. But in this tender, vulnerable stage of life, evolution has given us the greatest gift: time. Time to learn, time to grow, and time to dream. Tomorrow, these little ones will follow their elders through sunlit grasslands, mimicking every step, every glance, every subtle warning call. Their minds will sharpen as they play, as they practice, as they fall, and try again. And one day they will pass this knowledge to their own children. In this slow, patient dance between generations, humanity is quietly, beautifully being born. The sun sinks low over the horizon, painting the savanna in shades of amber and gold. A small group of early hominins gathers near a cluster of rocks, their eyes scanning the tall grass for movement. They do not speak in the way we do today. There are no words, no sentences, but there is a language here, a rich tapestry of sound and gesture that binds them together. A sharp "who" escapes the throat of an elder male, and instantly, every head turns in the same direction. The call is simple but precise: danger near the tree line. Mothers clutch their infants. Glsu, younger males, crouch low, and the group freezes, listening. A moment later, the tension eases. The predator has moved on. Without words, a story has been told, a warning shared. This is communication at its most primal and its most effective. For millions of years, these sounds and signals evolved like the songs of birds or the calls of whales, yet they were already something more. Early hominins combined vocal tones with facial expressions, hand gestures, and body posture, layering meaning upon meaning. A low hum might reassure a frightened child, while a rhythmic clicking sound might guide a hunting party through dense brush. Their voices carried across open plains, weaving a net of connection between scattered members of the group. Imagine them moving together at dusk, a loose formation that relies on trust and understanding. A glance, a tilt of the head, a flick of a hand. These subtle cues keep them safe. The group's survival depends on more than strength. It depends on the ability to think together, to act as one mind. Even without language as we know it, they are already storytellers, narrating danger, opportunity, and emotion through sound and motion. These early calls and gestures form the foundation of something extraordinary. Over time, their brains adapt not only to make these sounds, but to interpret them, to find patterns and connections. This silent evolution is happening in every interaction. Each warning cry sharpens memory. Each soothing hum strengthens social bonds. Slowly, generation after generation, the neural architecture for language is taking shape. Even play among the young, is a form of communication training. In the safety of the group, children chase one another, practice mock fights, and mimic the calls of adults. Their laughter-like squeaks echo through the grasslands, a sign that learning is taking place. This is not random noise. This is rehearsal for a future where words will carry love, fear, history, and dreams. At night, the forest hums with the sounds of life. The group settles in their leafy nests. But even in rest, communication continues. Mothers murmur softly to soothe their infants, and adults exchange low, rhythmic grunts that mean all is well. These sounds are like a heartbeat in the dark, a reminder that they are not alone. The first language is not spoken in words, but in feelings, a shared pulse of comfort and belonging. This proto-language is a quiet revolution. It transforms survival from an individual struggle into a collective effort. With it, danger is anticipated, food sources are shared, and relationships grow deeper. It is also the beginning of culture, for every call, every gesture is passed down learned and remembered. This invisible web of communication will one day evolve into chants, songs, and eventually stories told around firelight. Somewhere in the darkness, a child stirs and listens to the soft murmur of its mother. The sounds have no dictionary, no alphabet, yet they carry safety, love, and guidance. From these humble beginnings, language will rise like the stars overhead, quiet at first, then brilliant, lighting the path of humanity forever. The sky over the savannah deepens into a soft lavender dusk, and a warm breeze whispers through the tall grass. In this twilight world, our ancestors gather close, their dark silhouettes framed against the fading light. Their faces are calm, their movements slow, yet behind their watchful eyes, something profound is unfolding. For the first time in Earth's history, emotions and imagination are shaping destiny. Picture a small child, curled in her mother's arms. Her eyes follow a streak of orange as the sun dips beneath the horizon, and she lets out a soft, curious murmur. Her mother gently strokes her hair, a gesture born not only of instinct, but of affection, an emotion that binds them in ways no other species has ever truly known. Love, fear, joy, grief. These feelings are no longer fleeting impulses. They are becoming part of the fabric of thought, carving deep pathways in the brain. The earliest hominins were not merely reacting to the world, they were beginning to experience it. Their hearts quickened not only at the rustle of a predator, but at the sound of an infant's cry or the warmth of companionship. These feelings deepened their connections, strengthening the bonds that made their groups so resilient. A mother's grief for a lost infant, a male's loyalty to his clan, an elder's care for a wounded companion. These moments were the quiet roots of empathy, the emotion that would one day form the heart of human society. At night, after the group has built its leafy nests high above the ground, a hush falls over the forest. The stars above seem impossibly bright, scattered like diamonds across an inky sky. Some individuals stir restlessly, their minds alive, even as their bodies rest. This is imagination awakening. Perhaps a hunter dreams of chasing a gazelle, or a child envisions climbing a tree taller than any she has seen. These dreams, though simple, spark something new, the ability to picture what is not yet real. Imagination becomes a survival tool. It allows these early hominins to plan for tomorrow, to remember dangers from yesterday, to envision solutions before problems arise. When a stick is chosen to catch termites, or a rock is selected to crack a nut, it is imagination guiding the hand. Over time, this power grows. The mind becomes a canvas where fears, hopes, and ideas can take shape long before they are acted upon. By the glow of moonlight, a young male watches his family sleep. His breath is slow, but his mind is alert. He thinks of a fruit tree miles away, one he visited days earlier. He recalls its branches, heavy with sweetness, and imagines returning there at dawn. That thought, the ability to plan to foresee, is a quiet miracle. Evolution is working silently, not through sudden leaps, but through these tiny sparks of thought, repeated for millions of years. With emotion comes a sense of belonging. The group is no longer just a collection of individuals, but a family bound by invisible threads. Members share food, protect one another, and even mourn their dead. A fallen companion may be guarded by the group, not because it is useful, but because loss is felt deeply. In these gestures, we see the earliest seeds of humanity's moral core, the empathy that will one day create art, religion, and law. The forest is still dangerous, and life remains a daily struggle. Yet beneath the surface, a quiet revolution is underway. Emotion softens survival's harsh edges, turning instinct into compassion. Imagination opens doors that no other species has ever walked through, paving the way for invention, memory, and myth. Tonight, as the group sleeps, nestled among branches, their dreams carry the whispers of the future, a future where stories are told around fires, where paintings cover cave walls, and where thought itself will shape the destiny of the world. The earth is restless, mountains rise and crumble, seas shrink, and the wind carries whispers of a colder age to come. Millions of years have passed since our ancestors built their nests in the treetops, and the lush forests that once blanketed the world are giving way to vast grasslands. Where towering trees once stood, rolling plains now stretch toward the horizon, dotted with scattered acacia trees, swaying in the hot wind. It is a world in transition, a world that will shape a new kind of human. Imagine a family of early hominins, lean and strong, scanning the horizon for movement. They no longer live entirely in the trees. The forests have thinned too much. Instead, they travel on foot across open savannas, their posture upright, their stride steady. These are not Australopithecus, though they carry its legacy. They are something new, Homo erectus, taller, more powerful, and more adaptable than any of their predecessors. The climate is shifting dramatically. Ice sheets spread across the poles, lowering global sea levels. In Africa, rivers dry and once rich lands become cracked earth under the relentless sun. Food is harder to find, and predators grow bolder. But Homo erectus thrives in this harsh environment. Their long legs allow them to cover miles in search of game, their bodies built for endurance rather than speed. They are no longer creatures of one habitat. They are explorers, travelers, citizens of a larger world. For these early humans, survival is an art of adaptation. They craft hand axes from sharp-edged stones, shaping them with rhythmic blows. These tools are more than simple extensions of their hands. They are symbols of ingenuity, honed over countless generations. With them, they carve meat from bones, dig for roots, and defend themselves from predators. The sound of stone striking stone echoes softly through the dry air, a song of progress that will reverberate through millennia. At dusk, the group gathers around a patch of open ground. The day's heat fades, and the cool night air settles like a gentle shroud over the land. They curl together for warmth, their dark eyes reflecting the starlight. Somewhere, lightning strikes a tree, igniting a small blaze that crackles and hisses. At first, they fear it, but fascination soon overtakes fear. They inch closer, mesmerized by the flickering light and the warmth it gives. Fire has not yet been mastered, but this encounter plants a seed in their collective memory, a memory that one day will change everything. Predators roam the darkness. Lions, hyenas, and saber-toothed cats prowl silently, their glowing eyes reflecting the moonlight. Yet Homo erectus has something no other creature possesses: foresight. They choose their resting places, carefully setting their backs against boulders or sleeping in caves for protection. They move as a unit, watchful and disciplined. And when danger comes, they defend themselves not with claws or fangs, but with stone courage and cooperation. In this age of extremes, migration begins. Drawn by dwindling resources and changing seasons, Homo erectus walks farther than any ancestor before. Some follow herds northward, crossing unfamiliar rivers and valleys. Others trek east, entering vast forests and mountains. Over thousands of years, they spread across continents, carrying their skills and instincts with them. Their footprints are left in the mud of ancient lake shores, their bones buried beneath layers of volcanic ash. They are no longer tied to one corner of the earth. They are the first true travelers in humanity's story. As the stars wheel overhead, this group of Homo erectus rests on the savanna. The night air is cold, but their bodies are strong, and their minds are sharper than ever. They do not yet understand their place in history, but they are paving the path forward. Their lives, their struggles, their migrations will shape the destiny of countless generations. From these travelers, one day will come Homo sapiens, dreamers, and builders, who will look back and tell this story. For now, there is only the wind rustling through dry grass, the distant roar of lions, and the soft rhythmic breathing of a family sleeping beneath an ancient sky. Dawn spills gently across the ancient savanna, washing the grasslands in soft hues of gold and silver. A cool mist clings to the valleys, and for a brief moment the land feels peaceful. Then the sun climbs higher, and with it the heat awakens, a relentless, punishing sun that will scorch the ground until it cracks. This is the world of Homo erectus, a species forged by extremes, shaped not by comfort, but by hardship. Unlike their ancestors, Homo erectus is built for travel. Their long legs and narrow hips are not just a quirk of evolution. They are tools of survival. These early humans can walk and run for some hours under the blazing sun, outlasting prey. In long chases that turn patience into power, where predators strike fast and tire quickly, Homo erectus endures. They follow wounded animals for miles, their breath steady, their pace relentless, until exhaustion topples the beast. This method, persistence hunting, marks a turning point. Intelligence and stamina now rival strength and speed. Their hands too tell a story. No longer merely grasping branches, these hands craft the first truly iconic human tool, the hand axe. It is a teardrop-shaped blade, painstakingly chipped from stone. To make one requires foresight, patience, and a vision of the final shape before the first strike is made. With this tool, Homo erectus can butcher carcasses, carve hides, dig for tubers, and defend against predators. The rhythmic sound of stone on stone is now as much a part of their lives as birdsong or thunder, a heartbeat of progress echoing through the ages. By day they travel light, carrying nothing they cannot hold. A sharpened stick, a pouch of dried roots, a stone tool strapped to a belt of animal hide. This is all they need to survive. They have no permanent home. The world is their shelter. Caves, rocky ledges, and the shade of acacia trees provide refuge at night. Their existence is transient, yet their adaptability makes them powerful. They are not tied to a single place. They are wanderers, explorers, and survivors. But the world they traverse is far from empty. Great herds of antelope and zebra thunder across the plains, while elephants graze near scattered watering holes. Hyenas, lions, and saber-toothed cats stalk silently through the tall grass. Homo erectus knows the rules of this land. They are both hunter and hunted. Every movement is calculated. Every sound a potential signal of danger. Their sharp eyes scan constantly, reading the landscape like a map etched in instinct. In the evening, when the air cools and the shadows grow long, the group gathers. They sit close together, grooming one another, soothing tension from the day. This simple act is more than hygiene. It is connection, trust, and unity. The bonds within the group are their greatest defense, stronger than any claw or fang. They share food watch over children and care for the injured. Survival is no longer just about the individual. It is about the clan. On rare occasions, lightning strikes dry grass, and the world erupts in fire. These humans watch the flames in awe, their wide eyes reflecting the dancing glow. The fire frightens them, but it also fascinates them. They do not yet control it, but they remember it, and memory is power. Someday fire will become theirs, a tool, a weapon, a source of warmth and light. For now, they keep their distance, their minds turning over the possibilities. The night sky is vast and untouched, a river of stars flowing overhead. The group settles near a rocky outcrop, safe from predators, their stone axes laid within reach. The elders curl around the youngest, their steady breathing creating a lullaby in the dark. In this quiet, under the same stars that will one day shine over great cities, Homo erectus dreams. They dream of tomorrow's hunt of water holes and shade trees, of danger and safety. They cannot yet imagine the future we know, but their resilience is already carving the path that will lead us there. They are more than survivors. They are pioneers. And as they sleep, the wind whispers through the savanna grass, carrying with it the promise of fire, of knowledge, and of the first great migrations to come. The wind sweeps gently across the ancient savanna, carrying with it the scent of distant rain and the low hum of insects. It is a restless wind, a signal of change. The earth is shifting beneath the feet of Homo erectus, and they feel the call to move. Rivers, dry herds migrate, and the seasons grow more unpredictable. For these early humans, movement is survival, and thus begins one of the most extraordinary journeys in history. The first great migrations. Picture a family group standing on a ridge at dawn, scanning the horizon. Behind them lies the land of their birth. Ahead stretches an endless plain, dotted with hills and scattered trees. They do not know it, but they are about to leave Africa, the cradle of humanity, for the first time. Step by step, over generations, their descendants will walk farther than any creature before them. The path is long and dangerous. They follow herds of antelope northward, wading through rivers swollen with crocodiles, crossing valleys carved by ancient glaciers, and climbing into cool forested mountains. Each new landscape brings challenges. In Asia, they meet dense jungles alive with leopards and snakes. In Europe, biting cold winds sweep over vast grasslands. Yet they adapt, crafting new tools and finding shelter wherever they go. Their bodies are lean and strong, built for endurance, and their minds are sharp, shaped by the constant need to solve problems. Generations pass, and their journey becomes a slow, steady pulse across the earth. Some settle in caves high in limestone cliffs, leaving behind faint traces of their presence, stone flakes, cracked bones, and campfire ashes. Others make their way farther east, reaching China and Indonesia. On the island of Flores, some will shrink in size, evolving into tiny humans, barely a meter tall. These island dwellers will live in isolation for thousands of years, their existence a reminder that humanity's story is not a straight line, but a branching tree filled with unexpected paths. Imagine their first sight of snow. For those who ventured into northern lands, white blankets of ice covered everything they knew. Trees stood frozen was like sculptures, and rivers became hard as stone. Yet even here, Homo erectus endured. They learned to seek warmth in caves, to follow the movements of animals, and to adapt their hunting techniques to a land that was harsh and unforgiving. No other species had traveled so far, faced so many climates, or conquered so many worlds within one planet. Their journey was not a single migration, but a rhythm of exploration. Families would move, settle for a time, and move again, always following the promise of water, food, and safety. Over hundreds of thousands of years, they would cover nearly every corner of the old world, spreading their tools, their instincts, and their legacy. With every step, they were not only surviving, but shaping the future of humanity. At night, under unfamiliar skies, they gathered in tight circles. Fires were still rare and precious, sometimes stolen from lightning-scorched trees, guarded carefully until it died out. In its flickering light, they found warmth and security. The fire cast shadows on cave walls, shadows that danced like spirits, perhaps planting the seeds of the first myths. They could not name the constellations above them, but they surely noticed their patterns, marking the turning of seasons as they wandered. They left no maps, no writings, no monuments, only footprints pressed into ancient mud, only bones buried in layers of time, but their courage carved an invisible road across continents, a road that we still walk today. We carry their story in our blood, the restlessness, the hunger to explore, the determination to survive no matter the cost. As the stars turn overhead, the travelers sleep in a small clearing, their children curled close, their stone axes within reach. They are unaware of how extraordinary they are, that no other creature has ventured so far, seen so much, or adapted so brilliantly. They are simply living step by step in a journey that will one day lead to cities, ships, and spacefaring explorers. But tonight, they are only wanderers, resting beneath the quiet sky as the earth whispers softly around them. The journey of Homo erectus was not a straight path, nor an easy one. With every mile traveled, the world seemed to transform. What began as a trek across dry African savannas soon became an odyssey through thick forests, windswept plains and lands gripped by ice. Yet this species, born of hardship, carried within it a remarkable gift, the ability to adapt to almost anything the earth could throw at them. Imagine a small group moving cautiously through a Southeast Asian rainforest, a cathedral of towering trees and dripping leaves. The air is heavy thick with the smell of wet soil and orchids. Here, movement is slow, deliberate. They navigate through dense vegetation, listening to the calls of strange birds and the chatter of monkeys. Food is abundant fruits, fish from shallow streams, roots hidden beneath the mud. But danger lurks everywhere. Venomous snakes coil in the branches. Leopards stalk silently along the shadows. Yet Homo erectus thrives. They fashion digging sticks to unearth tubers, sharpened wooden spears to catch fish, and choose caves high above the ground as their sanctuaries. Farther north, the climate changes. The forest thins, giving way to windswept steppes, where mammoths roam beneath gray skies. The air is bitterly cold, and snow crunches under their feet. For a species born in the warmth of Africa, this is an alien world. Yet they survive. Animal skins become their armor, stripped from hunted prey and dried in the wind. Stones are shaped not only into axes, but into scrapers' tools that help clean hides and prepare them for warmth. They discover that fire, when captured from lightning or volcanoes, is a miracle, a barrier against predators, and a shield against the cold. They cannot yet make it, but they guard it fiercely when they have it tending to glowing embers through long dark nights. Their adaptability extends beyond tools. They develop an extraordinary ability to anticipate danger and plan ahead. In regions with brutal winters, they memorize migration routes of herds, traveling with them, always seeking food. In tropical regions, they understand the rhythms of fruiting trees and seasonal rains. They learn to read landscapes, like maps to remember landmarks, and to sense subtle changes in weather. Their intelligence is as essential as their physical strength. Across Europe and Asia, Homo erectus settles in caves, cliffside shelters, and river valleys. They do not build permanent homes, but they create a sense of place wherever they go, leaving behind scattered clues, piles of butchered bones, carefully crafted stone flakes and charcoal from ancient fires. Each of these remnants is ancient humanity's unwritten story, a silent record of lives spent adapting, surviving, and thriving. Imagine them huddled together at night, their breath steaming in the icy air. A single fire flickers in the mouth of a cave, casting warm light on their faces. The elders tell stories, not with words as we know them, but with gestures, sounds, and shared memories. The children watch wide-eyed, their minds, soaking in every lesson. These moments, simple and primal, are the first flickers of culture, the glue that holds them together and ensures their survival. In time, Homo erectus will reach the farthest edges of the known world. They will stand on windswept shores and gaze at the crashing waves of the Pacific. They will climb high mountains and peer into valleys carved by glaciers. They will adapt to everything: heat, cold, hunger, and fear. No other creature has ever been so versatile, so willing to face the unknown. And though their voices will never be heard again, their legacy is all around us. The resilience we carry, the ingenuity that defines us, the courage to venture into hostile places, all of it began here with these travelers who tamed the wild simply by enduring it. Tonight, as snow falls silently Over a cave in the far north, a family of Homo erectus sleeps huddled close, their fire smoldering low. They are unaware that they have conquered something profound, not the land itself, but the fear of it. In their calm, steady presence, we see the first true mastery of Earth's extremes, a mastery that will one day lead us to every corner of the planet. The day is ending. Shadows stretch long over the dry grass, and the wind carries the cool scent of nightfall. A small group of Homo erectus gathers near a rocky outcrop, their weary bodies settling after hours of walking and foraging. They are tired, but tonight something extraordinary glows in their midst. Fire. At first, fire was a mystery, a terrifying force that roared from lightning strikes or volcanic eruptions. But over generations, they learned to steal it, to keep it alive, to cradle embers through wind and rain. They cannot yet make it themselves, but their patience and caution mean it no longer belongs only to storms and wildfires. It now belongs to them. This is more than a survival tool. It is a doorway into a new world. Picture the scene. A low fire crackling in a circle of stones, sparks dancing upward into the night. Its glow illuminates their faces, warm light reflecting in dark eyes. The smoke rises in thin, spiraling threads, carrying with it a sense of safety unknown to any creature before them. Predators, once emboldened by darkness, now hesitate at the edge of the fire's circle. For the first time in history, humanity has tamed the night. The fire changes everything. It brings warmth to icy caves, allowing them to sleep deeply, even in freezing winters. It cooks their food, softening roots, and meat, unlocking hidden nutrients that will feed their growing brains. It hardens wooden spears, making them stronger and deadlier. And perhaps most profoundly, it creates a place of gathering. Around its light, the group becomes more than a pack of individuals. It becomes a family. Imagine them sitting close, their bodies relaxed, their hands busy. An elder chips at a stone, carefully shaping a hand axe as sparks from his strikes mingle with the fire's glow. A mother hums softly to her child, rocking gently as the warmth soothes them both. Two hunters share strips of roasted meat, their movements slow, deliberate. The flickering light paints shadows on the cave wall shapes that seem to move like spirits, a dance that may stir the first hints of imagination, myth, and memory. In the circle of light, time seems to slow. The fire is constant, yet alive. Its crackle becomes a lullaby, its warmth a comfort deeper than instinct. The humans watch it carefully, tending to it through the night. They know in their own way that this gift is fragile. If it dies, they will be plunged back into fear and cold. And so, generation after generation, they guard it like treasure, carrying embers wrapped in leaves, blowing gently to keep the flame alive on long journeys. This mastery of fire marks a turning point in evolution. No longer are these humans entirely at the mercy of nature. For the first time, they have control over it. The fire extends their days, allowing them to work, eat, and plan after sunset. It offers protection from beasts and insects. It opens their minds to possibilities they cannot yet name. The firelight is not just illumination, it is the dawn of thought. As the night deepens, the group begins to sleep. Some rest, curled close to one another, while others keep watch, their faces bathed in the glow of embers. The stars above sparkle like ice, but here on earth there is warmth, safety, and connection. The first campfire is more than a practical tool. It is a symbol, a beacon of humanity's growing mind. Thousands of years from now, their descendants will sit by fires in every corner of the planet. They will tell stories, sing songs, and carve myths into the night. But tonight, here in this quiet clearing, there are no words, only the steady rhythm of breathing, the crackle of wood, and the soft glow of a light that will guide humanity through millennia. The earth has shifted once again. The forests of Africa have thinned into sprawling savannas, golden grass stretching endlessly beneath a scorching sun. Here, 4 million years ago, a new creature walks the land. Her name, given by scientists millions of years later, is Lucy, an Australopithecus afarensis. She is small, no taller than a child, but her place in history is monumental. Picture her standing at the edge of a shallow river, her sharp eyes scanning for danger. She moves cautiously, but unlike her tree-dwelling ancestors, she carries herself on 2 legs. The upright gait that began tentatively in the treetops with creatures like Australopithecus is now fully realized. Her hands, freed from the burden of walking, are tools of exploration. They grasp fruit-strip bark and hold branches for defense. This simple change, walking upright, will alter the destiny of her species forever. Lucy's world is a land of contrasts. In the early morning mist rolls across the savanna, and the cries of birds echo from acacia trees. By midday, the sun burns hot and the ground shimmers with heat. Herds of antelope graze in the distance, while lions prowl silently in the tall grass. Survival here is a delicate balance of caution and courage. Lucy and her kind move in small groups for safety, lies in numbers. They forage together, sharing food and watchfulness, their senses attuned to the smallest rustle or shadow. Though she still climbs trees to rest and escape predators, Lucy spends much of her time on the ground. She navigates with confidence, her strides steady and sure. This shift opens a world of possibilities. From this vantage point, she can spot danger sooner, carry food in her hands, and travel longer distances than her tree-bound ancestors. The savanna is not a playground. It is a crucible shaping creatures into survivors. Her face is a window into a time between worlds. With a flat nose, a projecting jaw, and a small brain compared to ours, Lucy looks both familiar and foreign. Yet behind her dark eyes is an intelligence that is growing steadily. She knows which fruits are ripe, where to find hidden water during drought, and how to read the warning calls of birds that signal a predator's approach. Knowledge is not written or spoken, but carried in memory and instinct, passed from one generation to the next through shared behavior. At night, her group climbs into the branches of sturdy trees, weaving simple nests much like their ancestors did millions of years before. They huddle close, the warmth of their bodies warding off the chill of evening. Overhead, the stars shine brightly, unpolluted by the lights of civilization. The sky is an ancient tapestry, and though Lucy cannot comprehend its meaning, she lives in harmony beneath it, a silent witness to time itself. Lucy's bones, preserved in ancient Ethiopian rock, will one day tell her story to a species she could never imagine. They will reveal the curves of her spine, designed for upright walking, and the strength of her arms, still skilled at climbing. She is not yet human, but she carries the blueprint of humanity within her body. Every step she takes across the savanna is a step toward the future. This chapter of evolution is not dramatic or loud. It is a slow, patient shift. The world does not notice, as Lucy walks upright, her shadow stretching across the grass. But this simple act repeated for countless generations will lead to tools, fire art, and empires. In her quiet existence lies the spark of everything to come. As dawn breaks again, Lucy climbs down from her tree, her small hands gripping the bark with ease. She moves carefully through the grass, her senses alive with the pulse of the wild. She does not know she is a pioneer, that her species is rewriting the story of life on Earth. To her, this is simply survival. But to us looking back through time, she is the first true walker of our path, a path that will one day lead to civilization. The savannah hums softly under a pale morning sun, and a group of Australopithecus gathers near a fallen tree. They do not know it, but they stand at the threshold of a quiet revolution. For generations their hands have plucked fruit-cracked nuts and dug roots, but today those hands begin to shape the world in a new way. The first simple tools of sharpened stone have entered their lives, and with them a future of innovation is stirring. Imagine one of these early hominins, crouched by a riverbank. She picks up a smooth, round stone, turning it over in her hand. Another rock lies nearby, angular and rough. She strikes them together, and a shard flakes off with a sharp edge. It is not a perfect blade, not yet, but she notices its usefulness. With this edge, she scrapes bark slices, soft roots, and cracks open small bones for their precious marrow. She carries the stone with her, a companion in her daily search for food. In this moment, survival shifts from instinct to ingenuity. These tools are primitive by our standards, but in this age, they are revolutionary. Stones are chosen carefully selected for hardness and shape. Each strike is purposeful, the rhythm of stone on stone echoing softly through the grasslands. With time and patience, flakes become sharper tools more efficient. This is no longer a matter of chance. It is intention, memory, and the passing of knowledge. Children watch closely as their mothers and elders use these tools. A toddler mimics the motion, fumbling with stone, and though her hands are small and clumsy, she is learning. The skill is not innate. It is taught, repeated, and perfected over countless years. In these lessons, we see the birth of culture long before the first words or stories. Skills and ideas are no longer lost when an individual dies. They live on in the next generation, carried like seeds into the future. The tools themselves tell us much about these early hominins. Archaeologists will one day uncover them, lying silent in layers of ancient earth. Their edges still sharp, they will trace their origins to this time over 2 million years ago, when creativity became survival's greatest ally. These stones are not mere objects. They are milestones, each one a testament to the growing intelligence of a species that has begun to shape its own destiny. At dusk, the group gathers near a rocky outcrop. The air cools, and the smell of crushed grass lingers as they settle in for the night. One adult uses her stone tool to split open a scavenged bone, savoring the nutrient-rich marrow inside. Another cracks nuts with careful precision, offering pieces to a child. Around them, predators stir in the darkness, but these tools give them confidence. They are no longer entirely defenseless. Even the smallest shard of stone can cut, scrape, and protect. This mastery of stone marks a subtle but profound shift. For the first time, humans are no longer passive participants in nature. They are shaping it. A sharpened edge is more than a tool. It is a symbol of foresight, planning, and imagination. The mind that crafted it is already thinking ahead, already dreaming of possibilities beyond the present moment. Night falls, and the group climbs into trees or shelters beneath rocky ledges, their tools held close. The stars shimmer above ancient and silent, bearing witness to this transformation. No ceremony marks this turning point. No record of its significance remains. And yet, from these first strikes of stone, an unbroken chain will lead to spears, fire art, and eventually civilizations of towering monuments and written language. For now, in this quiet prehistoric night, the group rests. Their hands, rough and strong, cradle the future in the form of simple chipped stones. The journey of humanity is still in its infancy, but in these tools we see its first glimmers, a spark that will one day light the entire world. The wind bites sharply across the ancient plains. The savanna, once lush with life, is now dry and sparse. The earth has entered a new chapter. Temperatures drop, rains shift, and the once stable landscapes of Africa and Eurasia become unpredictable. For the first time, survival means not only finding food and shelter, but defending the body itself from the elements. Here, amid this harsh environment, the earliest seeds of clothing are sown. Imagine a small group of Homo erectus traveling across a windswept steppe. The sun is pale and distant, and the cold gnaws at their exposed skin. They huddle together against a rocky slope, pressing close for warmth. Nearby lies the carcass of a hunted antelope, its hide thick and soft. An elder with clever hands and sharp stones begins scraping the skin, clean removing sinew and fat. He drapes it over his shoulders, and for the first time in history, the earth's chill is met with a barrier made by human hands. This simple act, wrapping the body in the animal hide, marks a quiet turning point. Clothing is more than warmth. It is protection from sun, wind, and biting insects. It is a tool as valuable as any spear or axe. Over time, they learn to dry hides in the sun, to soften them with repeated stretching, to tie them with strips of sinew. Each piece is not tailored, not decorative, but functional. A shield between flesh and a hostile world. The invention of clothing expands their reach. Now, groups can venture into colder regions, staying longer in caves and rocky shelters, their bodies insulated by layers of hide. The icy winds of Eurasia no longer mean certain death. They are challenges to be overcome. Humanity's greatest strength, adaptability, has found a new expression. Clothing also changes social life. Imagine a young hunter returning to camp, draped in the pelt of a predator he helped bring down. Others gather around their hands, tracing the coarse fur, eyes wide with respect. Clothing becomes more than warmth. It carries stories. A fur-lined cloak tells of a hunt's success. A leather wrap signals strength or ingenuity. These are the first whispers of symbolism, where objects hold meaning beyond their function. At night, the group gathers near a glowing fire. The flames flicker against the cave walls, casting shadows that dance like spirits. The humans sit wrapped in hides, their bodies warm despite the winter air that whistles through the cave mouth. The smell of smoke and drying leather fills the air. Children snuggle close to their mothers, fingers playing with the soft fur lining of their cloaks. In this circle of warmth and protection, a sense of security blooms, an emotion as vital as the clothing itself. With time, skills improve. Stones are shaped not only for hunting, but for scraping hides clean, making them lighter and more flexible. Fibers are twisted into cords, to secure garments. Creativity stirs quietly. Perhaps someone ties a feather or a claw to a wrap, not because it is needed, but because it is beautiful. These small acts of adornment are humanity's first steps toward culture, fashion, and identity. Clothing will remain simple for hundreds of thousands of years. No stitching, no dyes, no decoration beyond what nature provides. Yet its impact is profound. It allows humans to spread into new territories, to survive harsh winters, and to settle in caves where temperatures once made life impossible. It is an invisible marker of humanity's ingenuity. While other animals grow fur, humans invent it. As the night deepens, the group sleeps soundly beneath their hides, their fire glowing faintly in the darkness. Outside, snow falls silently, blanketing the steppe in white. But within the cave, warmth and safety reign. The earliest garments are crude, but they carry the weight of every future cloak, robe, and suit. In these simple hides, stitched together only by instinct and necessity, we see the first attempt to shape the world to our needs, rather than bend ourselves to its will. Night falls gently over an ancient campsite. The wind sighs softly through the grass, and a pale moon climbs into the sky, casting silver light over a cluster of humans huddled close to a flickering fire. Their bodies are wrapped in hides, their stomachs full from a day's hunt. Slowly their breathing deepens, and they slip into sleep. Around them, the night hums with the whispers of insects, the distant cries of predators, and something else, something new and unspoken stirring within their minds. Dreams. For the first time in Earth's history, a creature not only survives its world, but begins to imagine it anew in sleep. Their dreams are vivid and strange faces of loved ones who are far away, landscapes they have never seen, hunts that end in triumph or terror. These visions are more than fleeting illusions. They plant seeds of wonder. A child wakes and clings to her mother, describing shapes in the sky and voices in the darkness. An elder sits quietly by the morning fire, eyes distant, pondering a dream that feels like a message. In these simple exchanges, the human mind is expanding beyond survival. The first stirrings of spirituality are born from these dreams. For a hunter who dreams of his father's face, there comes a question: where has he gone? The body may be gone, but the image remains alive in memory and imagination. Slowly, an understanding forms that death may not be the end, that the spirits of the departed linger in some other place. The forest, the wind, the stars, these too begin to feel alive, as though they are listening, watching. When a group member dies, the humans do not simply leave the body behind. They pause, they gather stones, and place them over the body, perhaps for protection from scavengers, perhaps for reasons they cannot yet name. The air around such a place feels heavy and sacred. The living sit quietly nearby their fire, casting soft light over the still form. This moment is the birth of ritual, a silent recognition that life carries meaning even after it ends. In waves, archaeologists will one day find traces of these moments, skeletons arranged with care bones, covered with red ochre tools, placed beside the dead, as if for a journey beyond. These early burials speak louder than words. Humanity has begun to believe in something greater than itself. Spirituality begins not with temples or gods, but with a feeling, a quiet awareness of the unseen. A hunter may leave an offering of bones, at a favored hunting ground, whispering gratitude to the land. A mother may murmur softly over her sleeping child, as though calling on invisible protectors. These small gestures weave an invisible thread between humans and their world, a connection that will later grow into myth and religion. The campfire becomes the first altar. Around it, stories are told with gestures and sounds, tales of hunts of spirits, glimpsed in dreams of storms and stars. Children watch wide-eyed as elders mimic the growl of lions or trace constellations in the air. These stories carry warnings, lessons, and comfort, but they also carry wonder. Humanity is beginning to ask questions no other creature dares to ask. Why are we here? What lies beyond the night? Outside the safety of the fire's glow, darkness stretches endless and silent. Yet within this circle of warmth, humans feel something new, a sense of belonging to a larger world, one filled with mysteries beyond their understanding. Their minds, sharpened by generations of survival, now turn inward, exploring landscapes of thought and belief. Tonight, as the group sleeps, dreams flicker across their minds like shadows on cave walls. In those dreams, they see the faces of loved ones, hear voices long gone, and imagine realms beyond their reach. The stars above shine like eternal lanterns, and perhaps for the first time, a human looks up and feels not just fear or curiosity, but awe. This awakening is quiet, but it will shape the future of our species. From these simple dreams will come stories, myths, and faiths that will guide humanity for thousands of years. The world has not changed, but humans have, and the night once only a threat has become a place of wonder. The earth has entered an age of ice. Vast glaciers crawl across Europe and Asia, their weight reshaping valleys and mountains, their cold breath sweeping over the plains. The forests retreat, and tundra spreads like a gray and white ocean. In this frozen world, life clings to survival, and among its fiercest survivors walks a species built for the cold, the Neanderthals. Picture them standing at the mouth of the wind whipping snow across their heavy furs. Their bodies are powerful, shorter, stockier, and far more muscular than modern humans. Thick brow ridges frame deep-set eyes that scan the horizon with sharp intelligence. Their wide noses warm the icy air before it reaches their lungs, and their strong hands grip spears tipped with carefully sharpened stone points. They are perfectly adapted to this harsh landscape. The Neanderthals are master hunters. Working together in tight-knit groups, they track mammoths, bison, and woolly rhinoceroses across the frozen plains. Their hunts are a symphony of coordination. One group drives the animal forward, while another waits in an ambush, spears poised. They know the land intimately, the best migration routes, the safest places to rest, the hidden caves that provide warmth against the freezing winds. In these icy realms, they are kings. Inside their shelter, life is surprisingly rich. Archaeologists will one day find evidence of hearths, carefully tended stone tools of remarkable precision, and even jewelry made from animal teeth and shells. The Neanderthals are not brutish cavemen. They are artisans. They use fire skillfully, their tools rivaling or even surpassing those of early modern humans. They decorate their bodies, perhaps to mark status or identity, and some caves bear traces of pigment and carvings that hint at early art. Their society is deeply social. Families live and travel together, raising children with care and affection. Injured individuals are looked after their bones, showing signs of healing proof that they were nursed back to health. In this frozen world, cooperation is essential. Every meal is shared, every hunt is a collective effort, and every loss is deeply felt. Imagine a winter night in a Neanderthal camp. Snow piles high outside the cave entrance, muffling the howling wind. Inside, a fire crackles softly, its light casting warm shadows on the rough stone walls. Children huddle close to their mothers, their small hands tracing patterns in the dirt floor. Elders sharpen tools by firelight, their strong hands chipping flakes from carefully chosen stones. The scent of roasted meat fills the air, and laughter, deep-throaty and human, echoes softly in the dim space. But despite their mastery of this frozen age, change is coming. To the south, another species is on the move, Homo sapiens. They are leaner, more delicate, but their minds burn with creativity and adaptability. For thousands of years, these two species will share the same lands, sometimes competing, sometimes trading, and even interbreeding. In our DNA today, we carry fragments of Neanderthal heritage, proof of an ancient connection between their world and ours. The Neanderthals will one day disappear, their reasons still debated. Some believe climate shifts strained their populations. Others argue modern humans with more advanced tools and larger social networks eventually replaced them. But as we uncover their bones, tools, and art, we find not a vanished species, but a kindred one. They were thinkers, creators, and survivors, humans in every sense of the word. Standing at the edge of a glacier, a Neanderthal hunter gazes out at a landscape of snow and silence. He does not know that his people's time is finite. All he knows is the hunt ahead, the warmth of the fire waiting at home, and the family that depends on him. His breath steams in the frozen air, mingling with the mist rising from the earth, and he steps forward, a figure of strength and resilience in a world of ice. Though their voices are silent, now the Neanderthals live on in us. In every bone, every tool, every whisper of their story, we see a reflection of ourselves. Humans who braved the cold with courage, who shaped stone with skill, and who lit fires in the darkness of a frozen age. The winds of time carry us forward again to a world roughly 200,000 years ago. The earth is changing as it always has. Glaciers continue their slow march across the northern continents, and Africa alternates between lush green savannas and arid punishing deserts. Here in the valleys of East Africa, a new kind of human quietly steps into the light, Homo sapiens, the first of our kind. Picture a woman standing at the edge of a wide, shallow lake. She is lean and graceful, with a high forehead and a face strikingly familiar to us. If you met her on a modern street dressed in today's clothes, you might not notice anything unusual. Yet she belongs to a world utterly unlike our own, a world of predators, survival, and a constant dance with the elements. Her eyes scan the horizon with sharp awareness, and in those eyes is something entirely new, a spark of imagination that burns brighter than ever before. These early Homo sapiens live in small bands, rarely numbering more than a few dozen. They are hunters, gatherers, explorers, and storytellers. Their tools are sharper and more sophisticated than those of their ancestors. Their minds are sharper still. They shape stones into delicate blades, craft wooden spears tipped with fire-hardened points and weave baskets from reeds to carry food. But their greatest tool is not made of stone or wood. It is their mind alive with memory, curiosity, and vision. The African landscape is both cradle and crucible. Days are filled with the cries of birds, the thundering hooves of antelope, and the distant roars of lions. The humans travel constantly, following the rhythms of the seasons, knowing where fruit ripens, when herds pass, and which waterholes never run dry. This knowledge is not written anywhere. It is passed down in stories, gestures, and song. Around evening, fire's elders share wisdom with wide-eyed children, their voices rising and falling in rhythms that echo the sounds of the land. At night, under the same stars, we see today these early humans begin to imagine. They carve symbols onto bones, string shells into necklaces, and decorate their bodies with ochre. These are not acts of survival. They are acts of meaning. Each bead, each mark tells a story. For the first time in history, humans are not just living, they are creating culture. Yet Africa is not enough to contain their restless spirit. Around 70,000 years ago, climate shifts and dwindling resources push small groups to move farther than ever before. Step by step, they begin to leave the continent of their birth. Across the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, they enter the Arabian Peninsula, then sweep across Asia following rivers and coastlines. Some settle in India, others trek through Southeast Asia, and generations later, their descendants will stand on the shores of Australia, staring into an ocean no human has ever crossed. Each migration is a story of courage. Imagine a small group walking through a barren desert, carrying fire wrapped in glowing embers, guiding children along rocky trails. They do not know where they are going. They only know they must keep moving. In their hearts, there is something new, an instinct deeper than fear, curiosity. That curiosity will carry humanity farther than any creature before across continents, mountains, and seas. From these first journeys, humanity's web begins to spread. Africa remains the heart, but its children scatter like seeds on the wind, adapting to every environment they encounter. Over tens of thousands of years, Homo sapiens will stand in icy tundras, tropical forests, and high mountain valleys, thriving in each place, their minds always searching for more. Tonight in this ancient world, a family of Homo sapiens huddles by their fire. The flames cast soft shadows on their painted faces as they drift into dreams. They cannot imagine that their footsteps will one day circle the entire globe, that their descendants will build cities of glass and steel. All they know is the rhythm of life, the warmth of fire, the taste of roasted roots, the rustle of grass in the wind. Yet in these simple lives lies the future of our species, curious, creative, and unstoppable. The great migrations continue. Thousands of years have passed since small bands of Homo sapiens first left Africa, and their descendants now roam vast swaths of Asia. They follow herds of mammoth and reindeer across frozen plains, their bodies wrapped in thick furs, their minds sharp with knowledge of survival. This is no longer a single journey, but a slow, unbroken wave of movement, stretching over generations. And now, humanity stands at the edge of a new frontier, the road to the Americas. Picture a family walking along a wind-swept coastline in Siberia. The sky is a pale gray, and the earth is locked in ice. Yet they move with steady purpose, carrying bundles of dried meat and fire-warmed hides. They are not explorers in the modern sense. They do not know they are about to reach a new continent. They are simply following the herds, seeking food and shelter, guided by the rhythms of the land. But their footsteps will carve a new chapter in the story of humanity. At this time, sea levels are far lower than today. The continents are connected by a wide land bridge known as Beringia, a vast expanse of tundra stretching between what we now call Siberia and Alaska. It is not a narrow crossing, but a frozen steppe rich with life. Herds of bison and mammoths roam here, providing food, fur, and bone for tools. The humans pause to hunt, to rest, and to gather strength for the journey ahead, unaware that they are walking into a new world. Life on this land bridge is harsh, yet these humans are masters of adaptation. They craft bone needles to stitch warm garments, their fingers deftly weaving sinew through thick hides. They build shelters of mammoth bones and branches, covering them with furs to keep out the icy wind. Their fires crackle softly in the endless night, a beacon of warmth in a frozen wilderness. Children huddle near their mothers, listening to the low murmur of stories, legends of animals, spirits, and ancestors who guide their way. As the years pass, some groups remain in Beringia, living in this rich but stark land for generations. Others press onward step by step across the vast and silent expanse until they set foot on a new continent. This is the first time in history that humans enter the Americas. They do not know that they are pioneers. To them, it is simply another valley, another hunting ground. Yet this moment will shape millennia of culture, trade, and civilization. Imagine their first sight of towering redwoods and sprawling grasslands, of rivers that cut deep into the earth, of herds of animals no one has ever seen. Giant ground sloths lumber through forests. Saber-toothed cats stalk the shadows. For these early settlers, every day is a new encounter, every landscape a mystery. Their courage is quiet, unrecorded, but it is immense. Generations pass. Humans spread southward through North America, reaching its deserts, forests, and mountains. Some follow the coastline, living off shellfish and fish, while others track herds across the Great Plains. Eventually, their descendants will reach Central and South America, filling the continent with their stories and traditions. In just a few thousand years, humans will live in every corner of the New World, their presence altering the land forever. But tonight, on this ancient crossing, there is only a small campfire glowing in the dark. The wind howls across the tundra, and a family sleeps in the warmth of furs, their dreams carrying them to places they cannot yet imagine. Above them, the northern lights ripple across the sky like rivers of green fire, a silent promise that they have stepped into a vast and wondrous world. These travelers are not conquerors. They are survivors, wanderers, and storytellers. The land ahead is unknown, but their spirit is unyielding. They carry with them more than tools and fire. They carry the essence of humanity, curiosity, resilience, and hope. And so, with quiet footsteps, they become the first Americans, leaving behind an invisible trail that we can still trace today. The wind howls through a frozen valley in Ice Age Europe. The sky is pale and heavy with snow, and a small band of Homo sapiens moves cautiously along a riverbank, their furs pulled tight against the biting cold. These travelers are strangers here, They are new to this land of glaciers and tundra, but they are not the only humans who walk this path. Ahead, watching silently from the shadows of a pine forest, stand the Neanderthals. For thousands of years, the Neanderthals have ruled this icy world. Stocky and strong, they are built for this climate, their bodies radiating heat and their deep chests filling with cold air. They know every bend of this valley, every cave, every migration route of mammoth and reindeer. To these masters of the Ice Age, the arrival of Homo sapiens is strange and unexpected. Yet as they step forward, weapons in hand, but eyes curious, an ancient kinship hums beneath the surface. They are not enemies by nature, but cousins. The first encounters between these two species are tense but cautious. The Neanderthals speak in low, resonant voices, using gestures and sounds that Homo sapiens can partially understand. Slowly trust builds. Fires are shared. Food is exchanged. Tools are compared. Neanderthals show their finely crafted stone scrapers, while the newcomers display slimmer, more intricate blades made from flint and bone. Knowledge flows between them, shaping both species. Over time, alliances form. Bands of humans hunt together their combined skill, making them formidable predators. Neanderthals teach the newcomers how to survive in the brutal cold, how to read the land, how to ambush a mammoth on treacherous ice. In return, Homo sapiens share techniques for trapping smaller animals, for weaving fibers into rope, for decorating tools and weapons. Cultures merge in ways neither species can fully comprehend, but the results will ripple through time. And then something deeper happens. Around campfires and within shared shelters, bonds form not just of friendship, but of blood. Neanderthal and Homo sapiens. Families intermarry, and children are born carrying both legacies. Today, scientists find their DNA within us, proof that these meetings were not fleeting, but intimate. Far from being rivals in constant war, these two humans shaped each other's destiny in ways we are only beginning to understand. Imagine a shared camp beneath a towering cliff. The night air is sharp with frost, but the firelight glows warmly on fur-wrapped figures. A Neanderthal elder sharpens a spear, while a Homo sapiens woman hums softly to her baby, its tiny face reflecting a mix of both ancestries. Stories are exchanged in gestures and sounds, laughter echoing softly in the icy cave. Outside, the aurora borealis ripples across the sky like rivers of green light, a spectacle that both species gaze at in silent awe. Though Neanderthals will one day vanish, their disappearance is not a simple tale of defeat. The traces of their blood live on in nearly every person of Eurasian descent. Their knowledge, their strength, their resilience are part of us. They are not a separate branch of humanity, but a chapter of our own story, a reminder that our evolution was shaped not only by competition, but by connection. As centuries pass, Homo sapiens populations grow, spreading farther across Europe, bringing new technologies, art, and social structures. Yet in their bones and memories, they carry the wisdom of the Neanderthals, the ones who taught them how to survive in a world of ice and scarcity. Tonight the campfire burns low. A Neanderthal hunter and a Homo sapiens craftsman sit side by side, their faces lined with hardship, but lit by the same glow. They do not know that thousands of years later, their shared legacy will live on in billions of descendants. All they know is the warmth of fire, the safety of the group, and the endless sky above a sky that has witnessed every step of humanity's shared journey. Deep within a dark limestone cave, far from the biting wind and endless snow of the Ice Age, a small group of humans huddles together. The flicker of a torch dances on damp stone walls, illuminating handprints, animal silhouettes, and swirling patterns etched in red, black, and ochre. This is no ordinary shelter. It is a gallery, a sanctuary, and a window into the human soul. For the first time in history, art speaks on stone whispering across tens of thousands of years. Imagine one of these artists, a young woman crouched near the cave wall, grinding red ochre with a flat stone. Her fingers are stained crimson as she mixes pigment with animal fat. With slow, deliberate movements, she presses her palm against the rock, leaving behind a handprint, a silent message that says, "I was here, I lived, I mattered." Nearby, another figure sketches the curve of a mammoth's tusk, its great form rendered in bold lines and shadowy details. These early artists are not merely copying what they see. They are capturing meaning, memory, and reverence. The animals depicted on these walls, bison, reindeer, wild horses, are more than prey. They are powerful symbols, creatures of awe and respect. Some historians believe these paintings were part of rituals, prayers for a successful hunt, or gestures of gratitude for the life taken. Others see them as the birth of storytelling, a way for one generation to teach the next. This is the animal's shape. This is how it moves. This is how you bring it down. The torchlight dances, and the paintings come alive. In the flickering glow, the gallop of horses seems to ripple across the stone. The cave becomes a stage, a place where humans first merged memory, imagination, and creativity. This is not survival alone. This is beauty. In these dark chambers, humanity begins to express wonder. Music, too, is born here. Bone flutes carved from the wings of birds fill the cave with haunting melodies. Simple drums made from stretched animal skin beat softly, echoing like a heartbeat in the darkness. Children sway to the rhythm, their faces lit by firelight, their minds absorbing not just survival lessons, but culture. For the first time, humans create art not because they need it, but because they feel it. Outside the ice, a world remains harsh. Wind lashes the tundra, and snow buries valleys and rivers. But within the cave, the fire glows warmly, and walls bloom with color. These places become sanctuaries of the spirit refugees, where humanity's imagination finds a home. The paintings are not just pictures. They are a declaration humans have learned to see themselves as part of a greater story. Archaeologists will one day discover these masterpieces, Lascaux, Chauvet, Altamira, and marvel at their sophistication. They will find pigments, carefully prepared tools used to engrave fine lines, and torches made from pine resin that burned with steady light. These caves are time capsules, preserving whispers of a world long gone, yet eerily familiar. For the artists, though, there is no thought of history. A boy dips his hand in pigment and presses it against the wall, leaving a print beside his mother's. A hunter sketches a reindeer with graceful antlers, perhaps recalling a successful hunt that fed his family. A woman hums softly as she works the sound, blending with the crackle of torches and the sigh of wind at the cave's entrance. In these moments, humanity becomes truly human. We are no longer just tool makers or hunters. We are storytellers, musicians, dreamers. The fire illuminates more than walls. It lights the depths of our minds. Tonight, as the torchlight flickers and shadows dance, the cave feels alive. Generations from now, others will kneel in the same spot, tracing these lines with reverent fingers. They will feel the breath of their ancestors in every brushstroke. The Ice Age may have been cold and unforgiving, but here in this quiet chamber, warmth blooms not from fire, but from creativity. The story of humanity is no longer only about survival, it is about expression. And in this darkness, with paint song and shadow, we have found our voice. The Ice Age world is vast and unforgiving, but humanity has learned to thrive in every shadow of it. Thousands of years have passed since small bands of Homo sapiens first left Africa, and now their descendants walk nearly every path the earth has to offer. From the frozen tundras of Siberia to the steaming jungles of Southeast Asia, humans are no longer bound to one land. This is the final great expansion, the moment when our species claims every corner of the globe. Picture a group of travelers standing on a rocky cliff overlooking a stormy sea. The waves crash against the shore, and the wind carries the smell of salt and rain. In their hands are simple rafts made of lashed logs and bundles of reeds. They have never seen what lies beyond the horizon, but they push forward anyway, guided by instinct, curiosity, and courage. Slowly, they drift away from shore, and history takes a bold step forward. Across generations, humans become skilled navigators. In the Pacific, they learn to read the stars, the wind, and the patterns of ocean swells. They settle islands scattered like jewels across the vast blue sea, each one a new home, each journey a leap of faith. In the Americas, they move steadily southward, crossing mountains, deserts, and rainforests, their numbers growing with each passing century. In Europe and Asia, they carve out a life in icy valleys, lush river basins, and windswept plains. By 10,000 years ago, no habitable place remains untouched by human footsteps. This expansion is not a conquest in the modern sense. It is survival, slow, patient, and deeply human. Families move with the seasons, following herds, gathering plants, and seeking shelter. They carry fire in ember bundles, stories in memory, and dreams in their hearts. In their wanderings, they learn the secrets of every land, which roots heal sickness, which stones make the sharpest blades, which animals are dangerous, and which are prey. Each new generation adds to this library of knowledge, passing it down in songs and rituals long before writing exists. Everywhere they go, humans leave their mark, not only through footprints, but through art myth and ingenuity. In Australia, rock paintings tell stories of ancestors and spirits. In the Americas, stone tools lie buried beneath ancient plains where mammoths once roamed. In Europe, caves echo with the ghostly beauty of Ice Age art. Humanity's journey is no longer just a struggle for survival. It is becoming a tapestry of culture, woven across continents. The world begins to change. In response to these travelers, humans learn to manage fire, to clear land, to domesticate dogs for companionship and hunting, and to build more permanent shelters from wood, bone, and stone. By settling in fertile valleys, they set the stage for agriculture, which will soon transform life forever. The nomadic age will give way to villages then cities, and eventually civilizations that reshape the planet. But in this moment, before fields are tilled and monuments built, humanity is still close to the earth. Nights are spent beneath endless skies, stars glimmering like lanterns hung by unseen hands. Fires crackle softly as families curl beneath hides, their minds alive with dreams and stories. The world feels immense, mysterious, and sacred. Every mountain range, every river, every forest holds both danger and possibility. This final push across the earth is humanity's greatest act of exploration. Long before ships or maps, our ancestors charted the world with footsteps and memory. They became the first astronomers, the sort of sailors and geographers, guided not by science, but by intuition and courage. Their journey connects us all. No matter where we live today, our ancestors once stood on the edge of an unknown world and stepped forward. Tonight, a small band of travelers rests at the edge of a forest, their fire flickering softly in the dark. They cannot imagine that one day their descendants will fly above clouds, map the seas, and walk on the moon. All they know is the warmth of the fire, the closeness of family, and the call of the land ahead. And so, with steady hearts and quiet resolve, they rise at dawn and keep walking, carrying humanity into every corner of the earth. The Ice Age is ending. Glaciers slowly retreat, valleys open to sunlight, and the earth begins to bloom once again. Rivers swell with melting snow, and forests stretch across hillsides that were once barren. It is a world in transition, and so are its people. For thousands of generations, humans have wandered, following herds and gathering wild plants. But now, in the fertile valleys of the Near East, something extraordinary begins. Humanity is about to put down roots, quite literally. Picture a woman crouched in a clearing, her hands brushing over a patch of tall golden grass. She plucks a head of wild grain, rubs it between her palms, and scatters the seeds on bare soil nearby. She does not know it, but she has taken the first step toward agriculture. Over seasons and lifetimes, her descendants will return to these same fields, planting, tending, and harvesting. Slowly, humans will transform the land, and in doing so transform themselves. This shift is not sudden, but gradual, a quiet revolution unfolding over centuries. People begin storing seeds from the best plants, noticing that those same seeds grow stronger crops the next year. They learn the rhythms of the seasons, watching the stars to predict rains and frost. The world that was once wild and unpredictable becomes a place humans can shape. It is the dawn of farming, and with it, the dawn of stability. Villages sprout near rivers and fertile plains. Families build simple homes from mud and reeds, forming clusters of dwellings that grow year after year. The land no longer dictates where humans go. Humans now dictate how the land is used. Goats and sheep are tamed, providing milk, meat, and wool. Dogs, already loyal companions from earlier millennia, guard herds and guide hunts. For the first time, people live not as nomads, but as caretakers of a chosen place. Imagine a small farming settlement at dusk. Smoke drifts from fire pits where grain is roasting. Children chase chickens through dusty courtyards, while elders sit weaving baskets to store the next harvest. Outside the village, fields ripple in the wind like golden seas, and irrigation ditches carry water from nearby rivers. The world feels safer now, but it also feels different. The rhythm of life is no longer shaped by the unpredictable migrations of animals, but by the steady heartbeat of planting and reaping. This new way of life brings abundance, but also challenge. Food surpluses mean population growth, and with more people comes the need for organization. Families claim plots of land, boundaries are drawn, and disputes arise. For the first time, ownership becomes a concept, and with it, conflict. Yet this new permanence also allows for creativity. Pottery is invented to store grain, and with it comes decoration, swirling designs and symbols that hint at stories yet untold. Farming also reshapes the human body and mind. The diet changes, communities grow larger, and cooperation becomes essential. Elders share wisdom about planting cycles. Hunters teach young farmers to defend their crops, and spiritual leaders emerge, connecting people with the natural forces they now depend upon. These villages hum with activity and learning. At night, under the same stars, their ancestors once followed. Across continents, these early farmers rest, but unlike their nomadic forebears, they sleep within walls they built on land. They shaped beneath roofs that will shelter them through storms. They are no longer just inhabitants of Earth. They are its stewards. This moment in history marks the turning point from survival to civilization. The first farmers do not know that their small settlements will one day become bustling cities, that their grain fields will become empires. All they know is the satisfaction of a full granary, the joy of a newborn lamb, the warmth of a fire surrounded by family. Yet in their quiet work, they have begun the greatest transformation in human history. They have learned to control the flow of life itself. The seeds have been planted, and humanity's roots run deep. Over generations, those first small farming settlements grow steadily, their fields stretching farther, their homes multiplying. Paths become roads, roads become trade routes, and simple huts give way to sturdier buildings of mud, brick, and stone. Slowly, without design or decree, villages become something entirely new cities. Imagine standing on the edge of one of these early cities, thousands of years ago. The air hums with life, the bray of donkeys, the chatter of traders, and the rhythmic pounding of grain being ground into flour. Smoke curls skyward from cooking fires, and narrow streets wind between clusters of homes. People move with purpose, carrying baskets of vegetables, jars of milk, and bundles of firewood. The smell of roasted grain and tanned hides fills the air, blending with the earthy scent of damp clay. For the first time in history, humans live in communities of hundreds, even thousands, no longer bound by the rhythms of a single family group. These new city dwellers rely on an intricate web of cooperation. Farmers bring in harvests from surrounding fields, while potters, weavers, and toolmakers trade their crafts. Hunters deliver fresh meat, and fishermen return with baskets of shimmering catch from nearby rivers. Specialization is born. Not everyone must grow their own food now. A person can devote their life to a single skill, and that skill in turn feeds the entire city. Walls rise around these settlements, not just physical barriers of mud, brick, and stone, but invisible walls of culture and identity. A sense of belonging takes root. Families trace their lineage to their homes, and communities form traditions unique to their cities. Songs, carvings, patterns painted on pottery. These places are more than clusters of buildings. They are centers of memory. Yet with growth comes complexity. Villages, once led by elders and family heads, now require leaders who can settle disputes, organize labor, and defend their people. The first chieftains and councils emerge not through crowns and titles, but through wisdom, charisma, and the respect of their neighbors. Over time, their influence expands, and the earliest forms of government begin to take shape. Life in these cities is busy, vibrant, and full of contrasts. In bustling marketplaces, traders barter goods from distant lands, salt from deserts, shells from coasts, obsidian blades from far-off mountains. These exchanges spread not only objects, but ideas, languages, and traditions. A pot made in one valley might carry designs from another continent, each item a silent storyteller of journeys and connections. Religion also finds a home here. Temples and shrines begin to rise modest at first, but growing in importance as spiritual leaders interpret the cycles of nature and the movements of the stars. The harvest depends on rainfall, the herds on fertile pastures, and so the forces of nature take on sacred meaning. People gather in rituals that bind them together, offering food, songs, and prayers to unseen powers. But not all is harmony. As populations swell, resources are strained. Disputes over land, water, and food grow sharper. For the first time, organized defense becomes necessary. Hunters become warriors, and weapons once used to bring down prey are turned against rival groups. Walls grow taller, and watchtowers rise, a reflection of both progress and fear. Civilization is a double-edged sword, bringing both safety and struggle. At dusk, as the day's noise fades, the city glows softly. Torches and hearth fires cast golden light against walls of clay and stone. Families gather in courtyards, sharing meals and stories. Children play with clay toys, and artisans continue their craft by firelight. From above, the settlement looks like a cluster of stars fallen to earth, each flickering flame a reminder of how far humanity has come. This is the birth of community, not just a collection of homes, but a living organism bound together by trade, trust, and tradition. In these early cities, humans take their first steps toward culture as we know it. Law, art, spirituality, and governance. The road ahead will bring kingdoms and empires, triumphs and tragedies. But tonight, beneath a canopy of stars, people sit around their fires in peace, unaware that they are shaping the foundation of civilization itself. The city hums like a hive. Markets bustle with traders calling out prices. Potters display rows of clay vessels, and blacksmiths hammer bronze tools that gleam in the sun. Herds of goats pass through narrow gates. Baskets of grain are carried into storehouses, and carts laden with goods roll over stone-paved streets. Life is thriving, but with growth comes something unfamiliar: chaos. In the early days of farming, villages, disputes were settled within families, guided by elders and tradition. But now, as cities swell with thousands of souls, problems multiply. Whose land belongs to whom? Who has the right to water from a nearby canal? What happens when a merchant cheats his customer, or when neighbors quarrel over stolen livestock? In this maze of walls and alleys, trust alone is not enough. A new idea begins to take shape. Law. Imagine a gathering in a central square. The people cluster in the shade of a wooden platform, their voices hushed as a respected leader speaks. He is not yet a king in the sense We know, but he carries authority, perhaps earned through wisdom, perhaps through power. Around him stand guards holding polished spears, a symbol of protection and order. The crowd listens as he lays out rules, fair weights for trade limits, on land use punishments, for theft. These words, spoken aloud, carry the weight of law for the first time. Over generation, this authority crystallizes. Families choose leaders, and leaders become rulers. The city begins to center around a single figure, the king. His word is law, and his presence brings both security and fear. Beneath his rule, irrigation channels are dug, granaries filled, and roads extended. Priests interpret omens to guide his decisions, linking power with the divine. The king is no longer just a man. He is chosen by the gods, or perhaps seen as one himself. This is the dawn of organized government, and with it, written law emerges. On clay tablets, baked in the sun, scribes carve symbols, detailing rules and judgments. A merchant, caught lying about his goods, may repay twice the value. A farmer who neglects his irrigation ditch may be fined grain. These early codes of law are harsh, but effective, bringing stability to a world that has grown too complex for unwritten tradition. In the royal palace, artisans and scribes work tirelessly. The walls are adorned with carvings of the king's victories, each one a story etched in stone. Courtyards bustle with guards, messengers, and servants carrying jars of wine and baskets of figs. The palace is not only a home, but a symbol of centralized power, a reminder that order now flows from a single source. Yet for all its grandeur, life for most people remains simple. Farmers still rise before dawn, their hands rough from work in the fields. Potters kneel by their wheels, spinning clay vessels in rhythmic motions. Mothers soothe children beneath reed roofs, their lullabies blending with the distant calls of traders. These people live under the shadow of the king, but their daily rhythm remains tied to the land, the river, and the changing seasons. At night, the city quiets. Torches flicker on the palace walls, casting shadows that stretch across the marketplace. In a small courtyard, a scribe sits hunched over a clay tablet, pressing marks into wet clay under the dim glow of an oil lamp. His work will outlast him. These tablets, records of trades, land ownership, and justice, are humanity's first written laws, anchors of memory in a world that changes quickly. This new order is both a blessing and a burden. Law protects, but also controls. Kings lead, but also demand. Taxes are collected, armies assembled, and fortifications built. Civilization, for all its brilliance, carries the weight of hierarchy. Yet without this structure, cities would crumble under their own growth. In the quiet of the night, the palace rises above the streets like a sentinel. The first kings sleep beneath lavish canopies, while guards patrol the gates, their spears gleaming in the moonlight. These rulers cannot imagine the empires that will follow, nor the generations that will study their laws. But they have built something lasting, the idea that humans can shape order from chaos, that justice can be written, and that power can be organized into something greater than a single village or tribe. At dawn, the first rays of sunlight strike a towering structure in the heart of the city. It is neither palace nor fortress, but something older and deeper in meaning. A temple, built from sun-baked mud bricks and adorned with painted tiles. It rises like a man-made mountain, a bridge between earth and sky. In its shadow, life begins. Merchants set up stalls in the marketplace. Farmers bring offerings of grain, and children run barefoot across dusty courtyards. But the temple is more than a building. It is a symbol of humanity's growing spiritual imagination. Long before cities and kings, humans looked to the heavens for guidance. They read the movements of the stars, watched the turning of seasons, and felt reverence for the rivers and mountains that sustained them. Now, with the birth of civilization, those beliefs find a home in stone and clay. Priests stand at the center of this new spiritual order, interpreting signs, telling stories of gods, and offering rituals meant to ensure good harvests, safe childbirths, and protection from disease. Imagine standing in the cool interior of an ancient temple. The scent of incense fills the air, a mixture of crushed herbs and burning resin. The dim light flickers on polished stone floors, and carvings of deities line the walls, their watchful eyes gazing down at worshippers. Priests in flowing robes chant softly, their voices echoing through the vaulted space. Outside the chaos of city, life continues, but here inside the world feels still sacred. Temples become the heart of these early cities. Farmers bring a portion of their harvest to leave as offerings, believing that abundance must be shared with the gods. Hunters lay animal skins at the altar, and potters bring their finest wares to be blessed. In return, priests oversee not only spiritual life, but education, record-keeping, and even governance. These sacred spaces are as much centers of administration as they are places of worship, housing the earliest libraries and archives. In Mesopotamia, ziggurats rise above the plains, tiered pyramids that touch the sky. In Egypt, temples stand aligned with the stars, their architecture reflecting cosmic order. In every corner of the ancient world, humans pour their ingenuity and labor into these sacred structures. They are more than monuments. They are attempts to connect with forces beyond understanding, to create a physical link between humanity and the divine. But religion in these early cities is not only about fear of gods, it is about meaning. People now live in large, complex societies, often far removed from the natural rhythms of their ancestors. The temple offers a sense of order, a reminder that their struggles are part of a greater plan. Priests tell stories of creation of gods, shaping rivers and mountains of divine justice, guiding kings. These myths are not merely entertainment, they are the foundation of culture, binding people together through shared belief. The temple economy grows alongside faith. Offerings become wealth, stored in granaries and treasuries guarded by the priesthood. This wealth supports massive building projects, armies, and trade networks. The spiritual and political powers intertwine, shaping civilizations where kings rule by divine right, their authority blessed by gods. At night, the temple glows softly, torches flickering along its walls. Worshippers gather in quiet reverence, their faces lit by firelight. A priest ascends the temple steps, raising his arms to the heavens, chanting prayers to the stars above. For those standing below, this act is not symbolic, but real. They truly believe that their offerings, their voices, and their devotion reach the ears of the divine. These sacred spaces, born of mud and stone, are humanity's first cathedrals, testaments to our endless desire to understand the mysteries of existence. They remind us that civilization is not only built with laws and walls, but also with faith, hope, and wonder. Even today, as we walk among ruins of ancient temples, their silent stones seem alive, They whisper of prayers carried on the wind of incense smoke, rising to the stars, and of a time when humanity first dared to believe that we were connected to something greater than ourselves. The city is alive with motion. Merchants haggle in crowded marketplaces. Farmers lead donkeys laden with grain, and potters spin clay into jars that will carry oil, wine, and water. But amid the noise of life, a quiet revolution begins, not with bronze or stone, but with symbols. Humanity is about to conquer something even more fleeting than hunger or danger forgetfulness. For thousands of years, stories, knowledge, and agreements have been carried only in memory, passed from parent to child, from elder to apprentice. But memory is fragile. Crops fail, disputes arise, trades are forgotten. In this bustling city, people need something lasting, a way to record their lives. And so writing is born. Picture a scribe seated on a low stool in the dim glow of an oil lamp. Before him lies a small slab of soft clay. With a sharpened reed, he presses marks into the surface, wedge-shaped impressions that form symbols. These symbols are numbers, names, and promises, a record of a trade, a boundary between fields, a gift to a temple. Each mark is deliberate, each stroke a step into immortality. When the tablet is complete, it is dried in the sun, hardened forever. For the first time, words have weight. This new invention is practical at first. Merchants use it to track debts and inventory, priests to document offerings, and rulers to command from afar. A king's decree, once spoken and carried by word of mouth, can now be etched in clay and displayed for all to see. No one can dispute a written command. In a world of growing complexity, writing becomes the backbone of civilization. Yet writing soon grows beyond utility. Stories begin to take shape on these tablets, myths of gods, heroes, and creation itself. Songs once carried only in the memory of bards are now etched line by line, their melodies preserved even as generations pass. Knowledge once as fragile as breath becomes enduring. Humanity has found a way to speak across centuries. Imagine the temple archives, shelves lined with rows of clay tablets, each one a time capsule. Some carry lists of harvests. Others record distant trade routes, detailing journeys across mountains and seas. Here in these quiet rooms, the human mind begins to stretch beyond the present. Writing allows calculation, planning, and law to reach new levels of sophistication. Civilizations no longer rely solely on memory. They now have records, maps, and history. Scribes rise in importance, their skills revered. To read and write is not a common gift, but a privilege of the few, a kind of magic that transforms sound into symbol, fleeting speech into permanence. Apprentices train for years to master this art, their fingers stained with clay dust, their eyes sharp and steady. In a city alive with noise, scribes create order, transforming chaos into neat lines of symbols. At night, the scribe sets aside his reed and tablet. The clay cools and hardens, carrying with it the memory of that day. A trade settled, a prayer, recorded, a law preserved. Outside the city, sleeps unaware that history itself has begun. The stars overhead glitter like scattered ink across a cosmic page, and humanity has finally learned to write its story. This moment is as profound as the first spark of fire or the first step upright. Writing gives humanity a way to transcend time, to speak to generations unborn. In these humble marks on clay lies the foundation of science philosophy literature and memory itself. Even now, thousands of years later, archaeologists kneel in dusty ruins, holding these tablets in their hands. The marks remain crisp, the stories alive. Through writing, the voices of the past whisper clearly, undiminished by time. We were here. We lived. We dreamed. The sound of hammers rings out beneath a blazing sun. In a dusty courtyard, artisans strike copper and tin, together sparks leaping with each blow. The world has entered a new age, not of stone, but of metal. Bronze glints in the firelight, stronger than stone, sharper than bone, and more reliable than wood. It is the tool that will change everything: farming, warfare, trade, and power itself. Picture a farmer in this new age. His plow is tipped with bronze, cutting effortlessly through the soil. Fields expand, harvests grow larger, and food surpluses become more reliable. With abundance comes freedom, time to create, to build, and to dream beyond mere survival. Blacksmiths, once simple tool makers, become masters of a craft that fuels entire civilizations. Bronze blades allow hunters to fell large game, chisels shape stone temples with precision, and armor begins to gleam on the shoulders of warriors. But bronze is not simply a local resource. It requires copper and tin, often found far apart. This necessity sparks the birth of long-distance trade networks. Caravans laden with goods travel across deserts and mountains. Ships with square sails glide along coasts, carrying precious cargoes of metal, spices, textiles, and grain. Villages that once survived in isolation are now connected to distant lands, exchanging not just goods, but ideas. Imagine a bustling port city. The air smells of salt and tar, and traders shout in dozens of dialects. Phoenician ships dock alongside Mesopotamian merchants, their decks stacked with amphorae of oil, jars of wine, and bundles of bronze ingots. Children chase one another through narrow alleys lined with stalls selling jewelry, fabrics, and pottery painted with intricate designs. The sea is no longer a barrier. It is a road carrying humanity's ambitions farther than ever before. Trade brings wealth, and with wealth comes power. Kings no longer rule just cities. They command vast territories, uniting villages and regions under their banners. Palaces rise higher, temples grow grander, and armies march in bronze armor that glitters in the sun. The first empires emerge, their borders stretching farther with every generation. Writing, once used to track grain and livestock, now records military campaigns, royal decrees, and treaties between distant lands. But bronze also fuels conflict. Rival kings covet resources and trade routes, and wars become organized, strategic, and devastating. Chariots roll across plains, pulled by powerful horses. Archers launch bronze-tipped arrows that pierce shields with ease. The age of empires is both brilliant and brutal. Cities flourish, but they also fall. Civilization has grown stronger, but it has also learned the weight of power. In quiet workshops, artisans create not only weapons, but art. Bronze statues of gods and rulers are cast with exquisite detail, their faces, lifelike their eyes, inlaid with precious stones. Jewelry gleams on the wrists of nobles, and ceremonial masks shimmer with gold and bronze. The same metal that carves weapons of war also creates beauty that will outlast the hands that made it. As the centuries pass, trade routes expand even further. Merchants travel from Mesopotamia to the Indus Valley, from Egypt to Anatolia. Ships navigate the Nile, the Tigris, and the Mediterranean, spreading knowledge along with goods. The Bronze Age is not just a technological milestone, it is a cultural explosion. Mathematics, astronomy, and architecture flourish in cities supported by trade and wealth. At dusk, a caravan arrives at a fortified city gate. Camels kneel as merchants unload sacks of copper jars of olive oil, and bolts of silk dyed in colors no one in this region has seen before. Inside the city, lamps are lit, and the streets glow with warm light. Music drifts from courtyards where families gather their laughter, mingling with the calls of guards patrolling high stone walls. This is the birth of empires, a world where cities become capital, kings become emperors, and human ambition stretches far beyond the horizon. The journey from scattered villages to mighty civilizations is complete. Yet at its heart, humanity remains the same, curious, creative, and restless, always seeking more. Bronze, with its strength and beauty, is a symbol of this transformation. It marks the moment when humanity not only survived, but began to master the earth-bending rivers, carving monuments and building kingdoms that would echo through time. The hum of hammers striking bronze in a smoky workshop is not just the sound of metal work. It is the rhythm of civilization's heartbeat. The world has changed. Bronze tools glint in the sun. Rivers are channeled into irrigation canals, and storehouses overflow with grain. Once nomadic families now live in bustling cities, trading goods from faraway lands and building walls to protect their wealth. Humanity has not only tamed the land, but begun to shape it. And with this new abundance comes something that will define history forever: power. In a time when survival once hinged on the hunt or the harvest, strength was measured in skill and wisdom. But now, with cities growing and resources piling high, leadership becomes centralized. One man or woman begins to rise above others, first as a respected elder, then as a chieftain, and finally as a ruler of many families, villages, and lands. The age of kings has begun. Picture a dawn in one of these early kingdoms. The riverbanks shimmer with morning mist as farmers guide oxen-drawn plows through neat rows of fields. In the distance, city gates open, and merchants lead caravans into crowded markets. At the heart of this growing city stands a palace, a symbol of power, wealth, and control. Its walls are adorned with colorful frescoes, and guards in polished bronze armor stand watch at its entrance. Inside, the king receives visitors, traders, offering gifts, envoys carrying messages from distant lands, and elders seeking justice for disputes. His word carries weight far beyond his city's walls. Where villages once acted independently, now roads, laws, and taxes tie them together. Power stretches outward like the branches of a great tree, turning cities into kingdoms. These early rulers are not merely warlords. They are organizers. They direct massive irrigation projects, turning deserts into fertile farmland. They commission walls and fortresses, offering safety in exchange for loyalty. They gather artisans to create palaces and temples, their wealth displayed not only in gold, but in works of art that will endure for centuries. The king becomes more than a person. He is an institution, a symbol of stability and divine favor. Yet kingdoms do not rise peacefully. The wealth they create makes them targets for rivals. Small skirmishes evolve into organized warfare. Armies march beneath banners, wielding bronze weapons and riding in chariots. The first professional soldiers are trained, their loyalty bought with food protection and honor. War becomes not just a clash of survival, but a means to expand power. Kingdoms absorb villages, cities conquer cities, and rulers carve their names into history. Religion intertwines with this growing authority. Priests declare that kings rule by the will of gods, that their victories are divinely ordained. Temples rise beside palaces, and the line between spiritual and political power blurs. For the first time, rulers are not merely leaders. They are chosen by heaven, their commands sacred. Imagine the view from atop a palace wall. Below lies a city alive with movement, potters spinning clay vessels, weavers at their looms, blacksmiths striking sparks from bronze, and children playing in dusty courtyards. At sunset, traders gather around campfires outside the city gates, their wagons heavy with goods from distant lands. Smoke curls upward from countless hearths, blending with the golden haze of twilight. This city is no longer just a collection of homes. It is the beating heart of a kingdom. Night falls, and the palace glows with torchlight. The king dines with his advisor, discussing trade taxes and territorial disputes. In the temple nearby, priests burn incense and chant prayers for victory, reign, and peace. Farmers sleep beneath reed roofs, soldiers keep watch on the walls, and scribes record the day's events on clay tablets. The machinery of civilization hums quietly, each life part of a grand design. The rise of kingdoms marks a turning point in humanity's story. For millennia, people lived in small, scattered groups, tied to the rhythm of nature. Now, power is centralized. Resources are pooled, and humanity begins to think on a larger scale. These early kingdoms lay the foundation for everything to come. Law codes organized armies, monumental architecture and diplomacy. Yet even in their grandeur, these kingdoms remain fragile. A failed harvest, a rebellion, or a rival king can bring them crashing down. History from this point forward becomes a dance between power and vulnerability, between ambition and survival. And at the center of it all is humanity's greatest invention yet, civilization. The sun rises over a fortified city, its high walls glowing golden in the morning light. In the courtyards within, blacksmiths hammer bronze swords, soldiers drill with spears and shields, and war horses are brushed and armored for battle. The air hums with anticipation. The age of villages and small kingdoms is fading, and a new era is dawning, an age of empires forged in blood and ambition. Humanity has always competed for resources, but now the stakes are higher. Cities are no longer isolated. They are connected by trade routes that stretch across continents, carrying gold, tin, silk spices, and precious stones. To control these routes is to control wealth. Kings begin to dream not only of ruling their city or valley, but of uniting entire regions under their banner. War, once a desperate act of survival, becomes strategy, politics, and power. Imagine the thunder of chariots racing across a battlefield. Bronze wheels churn dust as archers unleash volleys of arrows, while infantry march in disciplined ranks behind shields. War drums echo across plains, their rhythm both terrifying and mesmerizing. The battlefield is no longer chaos. It is organized destruction, honed through years of training and innovation. Conquest reshapes the world. Victorious rulers capture cities enslave enemies, and take tribute from defeated kings. Roads are built not only for trade, but to move armies swiftly. Fortresses rise at strategic points, casting long shadows over conquered lands. Slowly, borders expand, and kingdoms merge into empires, vast territories that stretch farther than any one person could ever walk in a lifetime. In Mesopotamia, Assyrian armies march with iron discipline, carving their empire from the Fertile Crescent. In Egypt, pharaohs lead campaigns into Nubia and the Levant, their banners fluttering over deserts and rivers. In China, dynasties begin to unify vast plains, connecting warring states with walls and canals. Across the globe, humanity has entered an age where ambition knows no boundaries. But conquest is not only about violence, it is also about assimilation. Conquered peoples bring their languages, art, and beliefs with them, blending cultures in ways that shape history forever. Empires become melting pots of tradition. Markets buzz with goods from distant lands, and new technologies spread faster than ever. In these sprawling empires, ideas travel alongside armies, mathematics from Mesopotamia, astronomy from Babylon, papyrus from Egypt, silk from China. Humanity's collective knowledge begins to grow exponentially, yet the price of empire is heavy. Soldiers march for years, dying far from home. Peasants pay high taxes to feed armies and build roads, walls, and palaces. Cities fall in flames, and entire civilizations are reduced to ruins when empires clash. The cycle of rise and fall begins. One empire's triumph is another's tragedy. History from this point forward is written in alternating lines of glory and grief. Picture a conquered city at dusk. Its gates stand broken, smoke curls from the ruins, and the cries of the vanquished echo through the streets. Yet, amid the devastation, life continues. Survivors rebuild, merchants return, and the conqueror's banners rise over new markets. Empires thrive on resilience as much as conquest, feeding off the labor and creativity of the very people they subjugate. At night, in the palace of a victorious emperor, torches flicker against stone walls, etched with tales of battles won. Musicians play soft melodies, while advisors whisper plans for the next campaign. The emperor dines from golden plates, but his eyes are fixed on maps spread before him, each line and symbol representing not just land, but lives. This is the paradox of empire. They bring both destruction and connection. Roads built for conquest later serve trade and travel. Laws imposed by kings create stability for generations. Empires are remembered for their cruelty, but also for their art, science, and innovation. The Roman roads, the Persian couriers, the Great Wall of China, all were born from ambition, but their legacy is civilization itself. The age of empires has begun, and humanity's story will never be the same. From now on, history will be marked by dynasties and empires rising and falling like waves, each one leaving behind ruins, legends, and lessons. In the quiet hours after a battle, as smoke drifts over a conquered plain, one truth becomes clear. Humanity has learned not only to survive, but to dominate, to shape the earth according to its will. The cost is steep, but the dream of empire drives us forward, one conquest at a time. The clang of swords and the roar of chariots may fill the chronicles of empires, but beneath the shadow of conquest, a quieter revolution is taking place. In bustling cities, along great rivers and fertile plains, humanity's mind begins to bloom. Knowledge once scattered in oral stories and guarded in temples now flows through school scrolls and libraries. This is the dawn of humanity's first golden ages, a time when ideas, not weapons, become the most powerful tools in the world. Picture an ancient city at sunrise. The streets hum with life. Merchants arrange baskets of spices, artisans open workshops, and scribes hurry to schools carrying reed pens and tablets. In the heart of this city stands a temple or palace, but nearby is something equally extraordinary, a library. Inside rows of clay tablets, papyrus scrolls, and etched inscriptions hold humanity's earliest wisdom. Farmers' almanacs, records of the stars, poetry, and law codes rest side by side, each a fragment of the collective mind of civilization. It is here that mathematics is born, not as abstract theory, but as necessity. Traders need numbers to calculate debts and taxes. Builders need geometry to construct ziggurats, pyramids, and canals. Slowly, numbers become symbols, and symbols become equations. The Babylonians divide the sky into 360 degrees, a system we still use today. Egyptian engineers align massive stone monuments with astonishing precision, guided by observation and calculation rather than guesswork. Astronomy emerges too, as humans look up to the heavens, no longer solely in wonder, but in pursuit of order. Priests chart the movement of stars and planets, predicting floods and seasons. In Mesopotamia, astronomers carve celestial maps into clay. In China, court scholars record solar eclipses. In Mesoamerica, calendars are crafted with stunning accuracy. The sky becomes humanity's first clock, a tapestry of patterns that allow civilizations to thrive. Philosophy and literature follow closely. In Greece, thinkers like Thales and Pythagoras begin to question the world, seeking logic behind nature's mysteries. In India, sages write hymns and philosophical verses in Sanskrit, contemplating life, death, and existence. In Mesopotamia, the Epic of Gilgamesh is etched into clay, the first great tale of heroism, mortality, and the search for meaning. These stories outlive the cities that birthed them, echoing across time. Imagine a scene in one of these early centers of learning. A teacher kneels before a group of students drawing diagrams in sand. Around them, the sounds of the marketplace fade, replaced by the scratching of styluses on clay tablets. Lessons are strict but transformative. Knowledge is no longer reserved only for priests or kings. It begins to trickle down to artisans, merchants, and explorers, spreading curiosity like wildfire. Art flourishes as well. Pottery is no longer just functional, but adorned with intricate designs. Statues capture the grace of gods and rulers, and music fills temples and courts. Instruments crafted from bone, wood, and bronze create melodies that accompany ceremonies and celebrations. Civilization is no longer only about survival and dominance. It is about beauty, storytelling, and shared identity. Trade accelerates this exchange of ideas. Caravan routes carry more than silk and spices. They carry culture. Along the Silk Road, Chinese silk travels west, while Greek philosophy moves east. In Mesopotamia, astronomers adopt techniques from Egypt. In India, mathematics evolves from Babylonian knowledge. The world becomes interconnected, and humanity begins to see itself as part of something larger. But even in these golden ages, the shadow of conflict lingers. Empires rise and fall, libraries burn, and knowledge is lost, only to be rediscovered centuries later. Yet the pursuit of understanding never ceases. Each ruined city leaves behind fragments of wisdom, a tablet, a carving, a scroll hidden in a cave. Humanity builds on these fragments like bricks in a grand temple of thought. At dusk, the library glows softly with lamplight. A scribe dips his reed pen into ink and writes carefully, preserving the wisdom of his age. He does not know if his work will survive. Perhaps it will crumble to dust. Perhaps it will be read by eyes centuries away. But still he writes because this is what humans do. We remember, we imagine, and we pass on our stories. The first golden ages are not just eras of wealth and invention. They are proof that humanity's true strength is not in weapons or walls, but in curiosity. From these cities, lit by oil lamps and lined with scrolls, the foundations of modern science, literature, and philosophy are laid quietly, steadily, and beautifully. Night falls over the ruins of a once great city. Crumbling walls rise like skeletal fingers against a moonlit sky, their stones worn smooth by centuries of wind and rain. Silent streets, once filled with merchants and music, are overgrown with weeds. The fires of empire have burned out, leaving behind only echoes of power. Yet this is not just the story of one city, it is the rhythm of history itself. Empires rise, they flourish, and inevitably they fall. Imagine walking through such a place at the height of its glory. The palace gleamed with polished stone. Soldiers in bronze armor stood guard, and scribes etched royal decrees into clay and parchment. Ships lined the harbors, and caravans entered through fortified gates, their wagons heavy with gold, spices, and silk. The streets thrummed with life, and its people believed their civilization would last forever. But history is a patient teacher, and even the mightiest cities are vulnerable to time's quiet hand. Famine comes first, perhaps as unpredictable weather brings years of poor harvests. Hungry families leave their homes and trade slows to a crawl. Or maybe war arrives, a rival kingdom, eager to claim riches, marches armies to its gates. Plagues sweep through crowded streets, carrying unseen killers that no physician can stop. A city built on abundance begins to hollow out its walls, too wide to defend its wealth, too tempting to others. Yet collapse is rarely sudden. It is a slow unraveling, a whisper before a scream. The libraries are looted statues, defaced palaces burned. Survivors scatter, carrying fragments of culture, with them songs, stories, techniques for farming, writing, and building. These fragments will one day spark new civilizations, just as seeds sprout after a forest fire. In this way, every fall is also a beginning. Consider Babylon, once the jewel of Mesopotamia, its ziggurats scraping the sky. Its gardens were counted among the wonders of the world, but its power waned as new empires rose. Or Rome, which stretched across continents, connecting lands with its roads and laws, only to crumble beneath its own weight. The Maya, the Indus Valley cities, and countless others all tell the same story. Greatness is not eternal, but its echoes never fade. Picture the aftermath. An abandoned temple stands in silence, sunlight streaming through its broken roof. Vines creep along its columns, and birds nest where priests once sang hymns. Children from nearby villages wander through its ruins, playing among toppled statues, unaware that their laughter dances over the bones of kings. To them, these stones are not monuments of loss, but playgrounds, and their innocence holds the promise of renewal, because every collapse plants seeds for the future. Scholars in distant lands preserve fragments of lost knowledge, Egyptian medicine, Greek philosophy, Mesopotamian astronomy, and weave them into new discoveries. Trade routes shift, but never vanish, carrying stories, technology, and culture. Cities fall, but their lessons endure, shaping those who come after. In a distant village, far from the ruins, a potter shapes clay into vessels, using techniques passed down from ancestors who once lived in that fallen city. A shepherd hums a melody that echoes a hymn sung in a forgotten temple. A farmer uses irrigation channels, first dug by workers whose names are lost to time. Civilization never truly dies. It transforms, carrying its wisdom forward in ways its founders could never imagine. At dusk, torches flicker among the ruins. Travelers seeking shelter rest in what was once a palace courtyard. They light fires, cook meals, and tell stories just as people did here centuries ago. The stone walls, cracked and weathered, still stand. Watch silent witnesses to humanity's cycles of ambition and resilience. Empires rise and fall, but humanity endures. We are not only builders of cities, we are keepers of memory. Every collapsed empire is a teacher reminding us that power is fleeting, yet creativity, ingenuity, and hope are eternal. In the ruins of yesterday, the seeds of tomorrow quietly take root, waiting for a new dawn. And so, dear traveler, we drift back from a journey that has carried us across millions of years. We began in lush, prehistoric forests where our distant ancestors swung through branches, never imagining the future their footsteps would shape. We watched Australopithecus take her first upright steps, saw Homo erectus tame fire and brave the bitter ice, and followed Homo sapiens as they ventured from Africa, painting stories on cave walls, crossing frozen bridges, and settling every corner of the earth. We rested in ancient villages where seeds were planted, where goats and sheep were tamed, and where clay tablets preserved humanity's first memories. We walked through the bustling streets of cities, saw palaces rise and empires fall, and stood in silent ruins where vines grew over the stones of forgotten kings. Through every age, stone, bronze, and beyond, humanity's greatest invention was not a weapon or a tool, but the spark of imagination. Even as empires crumbled, knowledge traveled, carried by traders, storytellers, and dreamers. Each generation built upon the whispers of those before, shaping a tapestry of culture, science, faith, and resilience. We are the sum of their footsteps, the living memory of every hand that carved symbols, lit fires, and reached for the stars. Tonight, as you close your eyes, imagine those same stars shining down on every age unchanged, yet ever watching. Let the weight of history settle softly around you like a warm blanket. You are part of this great, unbroken story, a thread woven through time itself. Sleep now, traveler. The journey continues tomorrow, but tonight the world is quiet. Humanity's long saga hums softly in the background of your dreams.